Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Eric Bird, here at StopStrugglingNow.com. And tonight, do elections matter to investors? That would be you. And STR, business taxes in the DR. Do you know about it yet? You should. I dropped part one and part two, but this just means this is the template. This is the future. If you're going to be in the short-term rental business or long-term rental business, this is the future all around the world for Airbnb, I'm pretty sure. Now, are you out here buying assets? Because if you aren't, now is a great time. The S&P 500, the NASDAQ, the Dow Jones, they've taken a little dip. Now, is it still time to buy? Is it going to be based on who wins the election? Are you doing dollar cost average? We got so much more to talk about. And welcome. Stop Struggling Now gear. Check. And please like, subscribe, and click the bell below so you get the latest updates. Now, let's get to it. All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank you so much for being here. Please, again, share the videos, share the live stream. Let people know that you have something to share with them that could be valuable. A lot of people are busy at work. They don't have time to watch anything on internet or when they come home on TV. Let's set this up for you because this is what somebody that's trying to make money, they generally are leaving at 6 or 7 or sooner a.m. in the morning, and then they have to get to work by 7, 8 traditionally. Then they get off at 4, 5, or 6, and when they get off, there's usually traffic or transportation that they'll be in for 20 to 30 to 45 minutes, and in some cases, if you're in LA, an hour. So now you get home, a long day. You're probably going to want to eat something. Relax a little bit, eat something and relax for a little bit. Another hour or two has already clicked off the clock. So it's almost 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. potentially. Almost time to go to bed again and get up and do it all over again 5 days a week. No time to be paying attention. And then you get on your phone and then you know how that works. All of a sudden you start watching clips, but you don't know the context of the clips. You didn't see the whole thing. So again, with investing, with anything, you have to do serious due diligence. You have to be neutral in order to do your due diligence. That way you can put yourself in each side of the fence. So you know if you're buying a great deal or not. Let's see who's in the house tonight. It looks like we have George's Charles in the house. Mr. Emerging Millionaire is here. Welcome to the SSN Nation Money Making Monday live stream. And he brings his tagline, hi all, I smell money and a Kamala Harris win. I smell what you smell. The momentum has shifted. I agree. I've actually, since I've been one of those people that don't have to be at work for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, I can actually go look online. I can actually go to see the NBC News early voting at every state. You can click on it. You can see how many going across party lines, whether it's Republican, whether it's Democrat, or whether it's other. And you can see what percentage of the mail-in ballots and in-person voting so far, what it looks like. Who's in the lead, who's a little bit behind, and that you can glean just a little bit of something. That doesn't mean after tomorrow that who's ever in the lead is going to win, but it's a good indicator, and then you have to go with polls and other things. So I agree with you on this, and The question is, Eric, did you know the stock market is normally better under a Democratic president? Yes, I did, Georges Charles. You know I know all the stats, man. You know I know the stats. Exactly. And you want to know something else that people don't even pay attention to? If you go look at the amount of jobs that are created under a Democratic president versus a Republican president, it's like 10% less, 90% less. It's insanity, but it's all right. This is why we vote. So I want to hear from you guys. Do elections matter to investors? Like right now, we have an election that's going to be decided over the next 3 to 5 to 6 days, depending on what happens tomorrow. Does it matter by the policies that somebody says while they're campaigning? You may agree with them, but does that make your decision on if today you were buying some stock, a dividend today, or if you decided to buy into a business or start a business? Does this have anything to do with you? Now, I will only say this. Whatever happens from any election, you are going to be dealt the cards at that time. So you don't know who's going to be president 4 years from now, right? You don't know what their policies are going to be. So that means you have to have some consistency with your business and investing protocols, right? So if you know a certain president's coming in and he's vowed to do a certain thing, then you have to say, okay, if this person wins, then I'm going to switch up. But that's the beauty of it. You're an entrepreneur. You're an investor. You get to switch up on the fly. It's when you become a corporation that you can't move so fast because you have too many irons in the fire. So that's why it matters differently to individuals and families versus corporations, because you have to have meetings. You have to have if you're on the stock market, you have to worry about what people on the general public is going to think if you do certain moves. So you're not quick to just go, I can switch. You have to start analyzing. Is this going to tank our stock? That's what they basically do. Because remember, a lot of these corporation executives have stock options, meaning if the stock price hits a certain amount, that releases $2 million, for example, or $50 million, or in Elon Musk's case, $53 billion of stock options. So that's why they can't just willy-nilly just go, oh, I don't like that, I'm going to do that like you. But you have an advantage. You can move faster. So I want to know, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think is going to happen? Jawway J, another investor's in the house. Will he have his eyes on the prize of who's going to win this election, and does it matter? Welcome to the SSN Nation Money Making Monday live stream with that icon next to your name, which I humbly appreciate. And he brings his tagline this evening. Hello, SSN Nation. Hope everyone is doing well. Received the notification, saw the trailer, and he smashed the like button. He gave it a trifecta. Thank you so much for that. And one more thing I want to mention. Once again, we're under attack at Instagram. Remember when I was all happy on Friday when we had 925 people? We finally broke that threshold of 921 followers. Well, you know how they are. Like I've been telling you guys, if you didn't see it, you wouldn't believe it. Now we're back down to 922. Trying to get us back in that 921 to 914 territory. No matter how many people signs up, they always remove followers. It's been happening for the last 5 years. It's been crazy. It's unbelievable. But that's how it is over here in the social media, ether verse. All right, Jawway J, say hello to the wife, family. All right, glad you're here. Now, Jawway J's here. Georges Charles is here. They've invested in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Did you guys see the videos, part 1, part 2, where they're like, oh, you guys didn't like that tax reform proposal that I put out? Okay, that's fine. We're just going to do it a different way because we're already talking to Airbnb. So you can rest assured I am thinking that 18% that they're going to add into the ITBUS, I think it's going to be added to people that are going to be making the reservation, just like a tariff. That's basically what it is. It's a tariff of 18%. So whoever books a place in the Dominican Republic, the price is automatically going to be 18% more, plus the 18% goes to the DR coffers. The Airbnb fees, VRBO fee if you have it, and any other, Vacasa and all those guys, the fees they charge are also going to be added on top. Your people that are booking something could actually be in a situation where if you charge, let's just say $200, it's going to be $236 for the 18% ITBIS. And the way Airbnb is charging people now, depending on how many days that is, let's just say it's 7 days, a person is going to be paying $1,400 to you. Then 18% is what's going to be charged additionally. And then Airbnb is going to add probably like another $200 to $250. And you're probably going to want the $45 or $35 or $50 housekeeping fee. So at the end of the day, your cost is going to be an additional, like the person's not going to pay $1,400. They're going to be somewhere like $1,900. And that type of jump, that starts people saying, well, wait a minute, if I'm going to pay $250 per night, well, I think I can stay on all-inclusive for that, right? Even though it may not be one of the top all-inclusives, but now you're like, for $50 more, I might as well just stay at the all-inclusive then on the beach. That's where we're going with this. So again, I'm glad you guys are here tonight. George's Charles, we will know the winner by midnight. Yeah, actually, because of the way because of the East Coast. Well, we don't. Okay, I don't agree with that. Simply because of this, early voting and mail-in voting are handled differently by states. So in some states, they start counting the early ballots same day, and then they do the mail-in ballots the day after, starting midnight on the 5th, meaning the 6th. So if it's close, how some of these battleground states could be, and nobody has an actual lead that is past, the amount of voters that's left that can vote, they're going to have to count the votes. So I think there's going to be at least a 3-day. I don't think it's going to be 5 or 6, but I think it's going to be 3 days. But I know one thing, somebody's going to be filing lawsuits. If the numbers aren't right, they're going to be filing lawsuits. We know who that is. But is that going to affect what you're doing for investments? Yep. We'll know. We'll know where it's going. Quite frankly, voting in some areas start at 6 a.m. in the morning, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. in some cities or states. And other states starts at 7, other states at 8. But we will know East Coast stuff. Generally, projections can be done in a lot of states on the East Coast, from up in Maine all the way down till Florida. You can have a projection because, again, I'll give you guys a simple scenario. Let's just say, on your voter rolls, you go, okay, we have 1 million voters. And then when you're doing your same day voting and you get up to 550,000 people for one party, and that party's in the lead, then there's only 450,000 votes again. And so now it's going to go like, okay, we know what the mail-in voting was based on party. And so if the party matches up, now you can do a projection. That's what they're all doing. You can easily go, okay, if one party sends in 53% of the votes and this party has already 55% of them, you can start doing projections. And so then you're like, well, wait a minute, even if the other side has X amount of votes left, they can't catch these guys. So we can call that for whoever's ahead. That's what they do. All right. So George's Charles, I'm glad you're here tonight, man. And congratulations again on that job that you got. And I can't wait for my property. I wanted to talk with you about that. I've been seeing some video of the Primavera 4. I don't know if you've caught it. They've been on some shorts that I've done. And I haven't seen you say anything about have they started on your unit yet or anything like that? Because I know you would probably send some pictures, because I know you were thinking they were starting on your unit. And I can't even tell where units are going to go, and they put in a new road on the backside. They got all kind of things going on in Primavera 4 and Primavera 3. All right. So let us know, man. I'm anxious to hear about it because I was oh, wait, this is November. Are they still going to have you done in January potentially? Or even February? Is that the time frame still? Because that'd be awesome. And also, are you going to be looking for furniture, looking for appliances and things like that? Because Primavera doesn't include them, I don't believe. Or wait, no, you got in early. I think yours did include. I think that was one of the perks when you first got in. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I'm thinking now that I think you did have appliances included. If that was one of the promos, you had the pool. Oh, no, I think you had to pick pool or appliances. I don't remember. But normally at Primavera, they don't include the appliances. So you would have to get that. Then you have to get your furniture, and you have a big place. And congratulations as well, because, ladies and gentlemen, he bought at the right price. Whenever you do investments, it's all about buying at the right price. And what do we mean? Whether it's stocks, whether it's real estate, whether you're buying into a business, you have to realize or estimate to your best ability, or get somebody to help you and say, hey, the value is this. So, Georges Charles, we've been connected for a few years. And when he was originally buying it, yes, me and him was going back and forth. We were involved, and we were talking about his options. He was doing all this. But one of his main options was he has a unit that can sleep. It's what is it? 4 bedrooms, 5.5 bathrooms. So therefore, he can sleep 10 for sure, because he can put a sofa sleeper, and then he has four bedrooms, including a what do you call it, maintenance like unit, but still you can put twin bed in there and somebody can sleep in there, right? A bunk. I think you can put a 2-level bunk bed in there. So, and it has a full shower. And then he did the other thing for a little bit of extra money. He added a bathroom out back, a full bathroom out back where the pool is. So now the people at the pool don't have to come traipsing through the house to the half bath in the living room. They can use the bathroom outside when you have barbecues out back, when the guests come over and when he's staying, when the family's there. You don't have to come in the house getting my carpet all wet or my ceramics all wet. That's always been one of my pet peeves when I had a pool. I was just like, man, you got to have the bathroom outside, full bathroom, not just shower. We got to have a full bath, right? Because when you have a party and you got 10, 15 people or more, then you really don't want 10, 15 people coming in wet in your house. Let's just call it what it is. Somebody's going to slip. Somebody might slip. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's best if people can stay outside. So he did the right thing. And he bought this unit, a villa with the pool, 4 bedrooms, 5.5 bathrooms, sleep 10 people. The magic number, in case you guys don't know, in the Dominican Republic, if you can sleep 1 through 6, that is no big deal. Why is it no big deal? Because most people are going to have a studio, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, because those were affordable. They were anywhere from $50,000 to $125,000, $130,000 to a 2-bedroom penthouse at one time. So they can't sleep past 8 usually. Somebody that has a 2-bedroom, they always try to put in 2 full-size bunk bed units so 8 people can theoretically sleep in a room. But who wants to have that for a week where you have 4 people, 8 people in a room, and you still only have the 1 bathroom? So you overloaded it. You should never do anything like that for short-term rentals. You should never outpace your occupancy. In other words, I'll give you a little story. I owned at the Peacock Suites and at the Wyndham Dolphin Cove. Wyndham Dolphin Cove in Anaheim has 2-bedroom, 1 bath, 2-bedroom, 2 baths. So I owned both units at one time. I don't own with Wyndham anymore. So what would happen is I would have people that want to stay because it can sleep 6. It's one of those rare things. In Anaheim, it's hard to get something that can sleep 6. So both units can sleep 6. But soon as the person realized 2 men with their wives is 2 females. They got to go to the convention center, which is 15 minutes away or less. It's walking distance, quite frankly. It's probably 10 minutes. But the point is, when they realized before they're getting ready to leave, while their wives are packing the hair dryer, they're just like, wait a minute. If the wives are getting ready in the bathroom, we don't have another place for us to get ready. So then they would call me up and go, hey, man, do you got a 2-bedroom, 2-bath? I'm like, yes, I do. Then I would say, but it costs more money. They're like, okay, we'll pay the extra $50 to $100 more per night. Thank you very much. Even though to me, the 2-bedroom, 1-bath and the 2-bedroom, 2-bath cost the same. But for the person, it ends up being a necessity. So that's why you don't want to do things like have 4 people or 3 people in a room and only have 1 bathroom for them. That doesn't work. So the unit, the villa he bought, he's got the best of both worlds. He's got 10, and you know what else? It's beautifully designed. Upstairs, when you come up, there's a little open area which could be construed as a loft or just an open area to watch TV. Either way, he could actually push it to 12 if he wanted to. That changes everything. If you go to Airbnb, you can do your own research. You can put in 5 people or 4 people and look for rentals. Then put in 10, then put in 12, and then you're going to be like, whoa. If I put in 4 or 5 or 6, I can get rentals in a 2-bedroom for anywhere from $100 a night to $50 a night. But as soon as you go to 10 and as soon as you go to 12, it's like, sorry, son, you can only find 1 or 2, but you're going to be in that crap situation. But the rest, you'll see things like $395 a night, $450 a night, $550 a night, $600 a night. And then if it's in Cap Cana and high-end areas, $1,000 per night. And he bought it under $300,000, ladies and gentlemen. Remember when I told you anywhere from 0 to 250,000 for condos, townhomes, and villas? Basically, he actually bought at the right price because all he needs is 40% occupancy, and he's making a boatload of money. He doesn't need 70%. He doesn't even need 80 or 90. A lot of people, because they purchase for too much, has to do, they're going to actually have a problem, because when you add the 18% ITBIS, and so in case you didn't see the earlier videos, part 1, part 2, if you don't know about the 18% that's coming, and you don't know that, here's the other kicker. The taxes in the Dominican Republic, part 2 that I dropped today, a lot of people don't realize, just like in America, just like in most countries, if you're making money on their soil, you have to pay taxes to their country. Now, there is a way that you can you don't have to double pay, because any revenue you earn outside the USA as a US citizen and a citizen for most countries, you have to pay taxes on that income. But the United States has an agreement with Dominican Republic that if you decide to pay the tax there, then you don't have to pay it in the USA. All right. And I think it's vice versa as well. But the point I'm trying to make is you're going to be paying tax 18%. And if you're not on Airbnb, if you're trying to be like the Wild Wild West and say, oh, I'll put it on some platform that's not a digital platform, and you're just going to get people to call you up and they have to show up, well, guess what? They're going to tax you even more, because you better have an SRL in the DR, and that SRL has to be registered and have an RNC number. And then when you collect money, you have to actually put out an expense report, which that does mean a lot of times that if people pay cash, it'll never be reported, right? But all I'm saying is you could find yourself in a world of hurt. So now you're going to have an SRL, which can cost $1,000 or more to create. Then you're going to be paying 27% tax on any profits. So think about this. Remember when I used to go over how much you should be making, and the reason why I had a number that I used to tell everybody, 0 to 250? What you guys don't understand is, which I talked about in part 2 today, If I'm trying to make 10% of my purchase price, if I'm trying to make as profit, I buy something for 200,000. That means I'm going to make $20,000 profit. A lot of you didn't know that you could possibly have to pay a fourth of that in taxes to the DR. I'm just saying there are expenses like in America, similar kind. You can get it kind of written down. It won't be 27% for the business, but all I'm saying is you could be paying 20% tax. 4Gs on 20,000 is gone. That's 16,000 left. So this is why you had to always be cognizant of your purchase price. You can't just go out here and buy stuff for $400,000, $500,000 and go, oh, I think I'll be good. Be good as in negative, maybe. All right. So we'll find out. But I'm just giving you guys a way to go. The East Coast changed the way the count vote because of what Trump did. Michigan start counting mail ballots first. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that means they have a whole bunch of election workers then, because I'll give you an example. You can go to NBC News. I call it Decision 2024. You can click on the early voting, and I'm going to go do it right now. Let me see. I don't have it up, but I'll just go do it. In fact, so everybody, you know what? I'll just make it a little bit more. I'll just do this. So people can hear people talking on the internet. You hear people talking on TV. All you have to do to get an idea of how the voting is going for early voting before tomorrow, like right now, tonight, you can actually go see which party, based on Democrat, Republican, or other, you can see who's ahead in that vote count, but you never know by party who a person's voting for, and you never know what the others are voting for, right? You never know. So it's hard to, but if somebody's, if there's a thing such as like this, if there's 50% Republican, 25% of mail-in and early voters is Democratic, then you know going in that the early votes and the mail-in ballots, you're thinking whether there's a crossover for Dems voting for Republicans or Republicans voting for Dems, you can pretty much go, okay, these guys have a general lead. But when you start doing things like somebody has 45%, another person has 43 or 42, you can never tell, because there could be a 2 or 3% of one party voting for another party. You just don't know. So you can only look at the numbers, but there are people who will say online, oh, we're winning on the polls. I'm like, the polls don't count. Here's the actual votes. Forget all that. Go look over here and get the actual votes. Don't let anybody gaslight you. See, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why are you trying to gaslight me? But here, I'm going to show you. Might get disconnected because, you know, they watch what we do over here. But I just want to get people to understand, don't let anybody gaslight you, one party or the other. Don't let them gaslight you. All right. So here we are right here. I'm going to use some battleground. I'll just do it this way. Kamala has to win these 4 states that I'm about to pull up, right? It's Michigan. All right. So you guys can see under Michigan, see, this is what I'm talking about. 46% Dems. Oh, hold on. What did I do? Touch my screen. Hold on a second. I was thinking I was on my touch screen. And I realized, oh no, I'm going back to early vote. All right. So did I put it in the chat room? Oh, all right. Let's go back and wait. What's happening? All right. Well, anyhow, here's Michigan. Well, okay. Now we're back. All right. Now you can see already 3,196,000 people have already either mailed in or did it in-person voting as of earlier today. So that right there, you see 11% is others. So depending on what happens with the others, if everybody voted along party lines, that's one thing. But we'll just say everybody voted according to party lines, but which is not a thing really. But let's just say the others. Now the others matter, right? So if the others go like this is 11%, but what if the others goes 8% for one person and 3% for another? And then you have third party candidates. So actually the others could be 2% for like a Jill Stein, and then a 5% for one candidate, 3% for another. So this is going to be very, very close if you look at it this way. 46. So in other words, when the Democrats look at this, they go, oh, wow, we need to win Michigan. This is a good sign. Now we need everybody to show up, right? So that's Michigan. What's the other one? Wisconsin. But look at this. 34% Democrat by party, 25% Republican, but look at the others, 41%, which could be considered independents. So now the independents could actually sway the voting, because what if it's not 34-25? What if it's a whole different ball game for the others? What if the others went like 30% for one candidate and 11% for another? Now, if they go 30% for the Dems, I mean, the Republicans in this case, that would be 55%. So see, this is why when you're doing campaigns, you want to bank in the votes early, because you're trying to get the most amount. So if you don't have a ground game in your state, meaning your DNC or the RNC, Republican National and the Democratic National Committees, they have to pay money to get canvassers, to get phone banks, to get people walking on the streets, having meetings and come to our office. You have to rent office space. How many spaces how many cities in the state do you have to get offices? You got to spend millions of dollars for this. So if your party isn't doing that, then the ground game on election day that's going to be a problem. And what's going to show is who's been doing their ground game. So if you don't know who's been doing their ground game, then you're going to go with, oh, these guys on the internet going, oh, we are winning by polls. I'm like, you can't tell me you're winning by polls, because I'm looking at when people actually voted. These are real votes by party, not the actual real vote, but it's by party lines. Give or take 2 to 3%, in my opinion, crossover, because there will be people that are Democrat, vote Republican, Republicans that vote Democrat. So there's probably crossover. But you're looking good at that, right, in Michigan. Then when you go to Wisconsin, you're sitting there going 34-25. You're going, okay, because we got ground game, let's say. Whether you're Republicans or Democrats, you're like, all right, if you're Republicans at this point, you're 11 percentage points behind. All right, which is not a lot, but it's like you don't want to play catch up. You want to be in the lead. Then the other one, look, is Pennsylvania. And look at this. Even with all the others voting Republicans, if you go across party lines, the Dems are ahead, way ahead, in fact, on the ballots. But Pennsylvania, you have to be a business person. You have to go, how many voters are actually in Pennsylvania? Then you find out there's like 7 million. So then you go, oh man, that's not even, sheesh, there's going to be another 5 million votes tomorrow, or 6 tomorrow added to this. So this lead is good, but that doesn't mean you're going to win, right? Because this is a drop in the bucket of the overall votes that could be cast, but it's good to build up a lead. Now that's the Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and I'm missing one. What's the other one? If she wins all these, it's over. Oh, Minnesota. That's the one. Look at Minnesota. 42% for Democrats, 21% for Republicans. 2-1, damn near. It is 2-1. But the others is 37%. See, this is the thing. If they vote according to party lines, then you already can see right here the others, if they split, it's game over for the Republicans. But here's the thing. How many votes are there in Minnesota? Minnesota's already cast 1.6 million votes. I believe they have around 3 million. So this is halfway there. So you can start extrapolating going, wow, that 21% means these guys only have like 300, 400,000 votes for Republicans right now. And the Dems, if you go by party lines, has already 40 times 6, 4 times 6. They got 1 million, roughly, almost. They're way ahead, but you can still catch up. But if early voting or that same day voting goes to another million and your state only has 3 point something million votes, they're going to call this early because they can't catch. You can't catch up. You don't have enough votes left. So if that happens, but I'm just saying, when somebody says we're winning, I'm like, I'm looking at the numbers. These are real votes by party. I want to stress it's by party. It's not votes by each individual person. They just know Democrats sent in their votes early and they stood in line and voted. They just don't know exactly what each person voted yet. So that's going to be kicker. But with this type of a lead, this is significant. I mean, at this rate, you can almost call Minnesota for these guys. If they win all 4 of these, plus Washington, Oregon, and Cali, it's game over, ladies and gentlemen. Plus the normal blue states in the Northeast. It's a wrap, right? It's over. Now, if the Republicans win any one of the blue, any one of these 4 states, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Carolina. But look at North Carolina. Republicans and Democrats virtually almost a tie, 33%, 32%. But now look at the other. Look at the other. Once again, the other is going to decide this clearly. And so now you could have the same type of counting for the others. This could be Republicans can win by 1 or 2 or 3 points. But look at this. North Carolina's already done 4 million votes. Is that crazy? 4.4 million votes. I think they have 7 million votes in their whole state. So this being this close, this is why these guys are running rallies today in Pennsylvania in the last 3 days, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Michigan. Because whoever wins this, North Carolina, that puts them up. But again, the only way Republicans can win is they have to win one of these 4 that I just mentioned. So now, if the Republicans lose North Carolina, it's already a wrap if the Dems win. But let's just say Republicans win one of these 4 up here and then lose North Carolina. See, now that changes the whole dynamics of this whole thing. Then you go to Georgia, where Republicans have a slim lead. But again, all-time record highs, 4 million people voted. And a small amount of people, only 7%, didn't know their independence. This is going to be significant for tomorrow's voting. So if it comes down to who has to win Georgia because the Republicans won one of those 4 blue wall states, now all eyes will be on Georgia. And we'll know tomorrow, like George's Charles said, about Georgia and North Carolina, but they're going to be so close. And so what's going to end up happening is these states, they're going to start the same day ballots, and then they'll start doing next day ballots the next day. So it's going to probably roll over. But if she wins all 4 of these up here, it won't matter about nothing else. Won't matter about North Carolina. It'll be game over. And then it'll just be a bonus if she won that, or vice versa. If the Republicans win one of these and then they win these 2, then they win Arizona, then it's almost like on the road to victory for Trump and the GOP. So that's how it goes, ladies and gentlemen. It's an assessment, just like if you're in business. All right. So this is how we're talking today. Let's see. Presidential elections matter, but not so much when it comes to your investments, and should not sway you to change your financial plan. I agree with you 100%, Yahweh J. The only thing that happens with an election is that you're basing it on information that you get. It's very simple. Because if somebody comes in and says, we're going to do tariffs, what's going to happen? You now know, first of all, 2 things have to happen. If a president comes in and says, I'm going to do tariffs, then the other thing that has to happen is tax cuts and tax breaks for the rich. Why do I say that? If you do tariffs, 90% of the population, the ordinary citizens, the 70% of citizens that are living paycheck to paycheck already, you just now added whatever the tariff amount is to your citizens' deficit. Because if you tell somebody I'm going to add 10% tariff, that means everything that comes from outside the US that you buy is going to cost 10% more. So if you're already living paycheck to paycheck, can you afford an extra 10% of expenses? No, you can't. So now if you're investing and you had a little disposable income left, that might take some of your disposable income that you can no longer invest in. So then what do they do? Trigger the other side is to make it look like it's a great thing. Then you're going to go, okay, I'm going to do tax cuts and tax breaks for the rich. Why would I do that? Because the rich then, when they get the tax cuts and tax breaks and they have interest rates being lowered, they get to borrow against their assets at a higher rate, which means they get to buy more assets, which means as long as they're buying more assets, you're not. And this is why now the top 10% of the wealthiest people in America own 93% of the stock market because of things like this, because they're going to go buy stocks. They're going to go borrow against their assets at 1 to 2% interest only for 10 or 15 years. And then they're just going to put it into the stock market and sit there and go like Warren Buffett. Okay, I'll go buy my VOO. I'll go buy my VTI. I'll go buy my dividend stocks and sit there because my dividend stock is earning 10%. And all I got to do is pay 2% on the money. So I can arbitrage all day and sit back and do nothing. Go around, be in meetings, do all this. That's what the situation is. But who's going to pay for those tax cuts? Less revenues and taxes. You, as a citizen, where taxes go up down the line. Maybe they'll do what they did before. When they did it in 2017, they made taxes go up in 2025 and 2027. Who does taxes, ladies and gentlemen? I didn't think we are going to get into civics. Who does taxes? House has to do the bills. They do the money. The House of Representatives does the money. So they have to come with a tax bill. Then the Senate, they also talk about, hey, yeah, we agree, we don't agree, change this, otherwise we're not going to pass it up here. But the Senate then says, okay, we'll sign off on it. But it skews toward those that get bribed. The rich people bribe your senators and congressmen and your representatives. And so they send people up going, hey, man, we want this, we want that. And they go, yes, thank you for that $1 million donation. I appreciate it. Thank you for that $2 million for my thing. That's what they do. They get bribed. So they're not looking out for you. It's fake. It's smoke and mirrors. But you're going to end up paying your great-grandkids, great-great-great-grandkids for all of the monies that are not going to be received. And now, because you printed up more money, remember, when you borrow, you're printing more money. Just remember that. You're adding more money into the money supply. That means that your price goes up. Just what happened to the DR. The DR just borrowed, Dominican Republic just borrowed $625 million from the IMF and some other agencies around the world. Victor Morero was here on Friday night, and now I was saying 57, 58, 59 to 1 was their currency, and it should be going into the 60s. And then he told me, no, it's already 60.25 right now. We looked it up. It's 60.25 to 1 now. See what happens when you borrow money, and you guys didn't think taxes were good. Everybody was clapping their hands going, great, no tax reform bill. But because they didn't get that tax reform bill, they had to go borrow money now. And now your currency is going to be effed up. And that's what the U.S. currency is. It's effed up because we now owe $35, $36 trillion in debt. So that's why you can't add more debt. That's the problem. But as I said, we always invest accordingly. That's why I started the initiative 5 years ago, to start talking about pre-construction properties where there was no credit check, no qualifying, no barriers to entry. And while they're building it, appreciation is rising, right? So I was talking about George's Charles Villa with the pool that sleeps 10, could sleep 12. His unit is going to be worth By the time it's built, it's probably going to be $400,000. He's going to have over $100,000 in equity. Basically, because it's like 3 years later, 2.5 years later. No, I don't even think it's that, really. Might be only 2 years later. But the point is, he's going to have equity. But in the Dominican Republic, it's not like the USA. You cannot take out equity out of a home. There's no such thing as a HELOC. But Scotiabank and another bank said, we'll loan you up to 70%. I'm like, hold on a second. We got to talk about this. Are you saying that now you might loan me up to 70% of the value of my home? Because if they do that, then it is like America. And then now you can tap into the equity. If they start allowing that, then that would be significant. Because now people would have these $100,000, $200,000 worth of equity. They'll say, okay, I'll just go down and buy me another piece of property, or maybe invest in a business and then make money off of my business, make money off of that using other people's money. Except the interest rates are so high, it's not advantageous for you to do that. 8.5% or and up. It's not advantageous. But I'm just giving you an idea that you can do in America. It's easier because interest rates are lower. All right, Eric, what happens if Trump hits Mexico with 100% tariffs as he plans to? Hey, man. Hey. Here's what's going to happen. First off, okay. I didn't want to get into some of this, but I got to. So I'm going to give you guys a perfect example. What people don't understand is America does protectionism. I'll just give you a story. When I was growing up as a kid, I lived on a military base, right? So when I got around 16 years old, I was starting to be like 6 foot, 6'1". So nobody could tell if I was an 18-year-old E1 or, or what. They just figured I'm 18, I'm in the military, but I was 16, right? So now when you're playing basketball at the base gym, they think I'm in the military. So now, of course, the military guys talk, even though they know I'm a kid that I'm playing against, but we're so close in age, 16 and 18, that's close, right? 16 and 19, kind of still close. And so they start talking. And so they go, yeah, man, I just came back from Japan. I just came back from Korea. Man, I don't know. You guys, you got to hear this latest music that I got, and you should listen to the sound coming out of this music, right? These stereo systems. So you go to their place. They had these things called Marantz, for instance. That was one of them. These things, the music was crispy, clear, sound just like a DVD right now, a CD. It sounded better. It was almost sounding like vinyl, except on steroids. It was like, damn, where do you get in America? We didn't have them. They didn't sell them in America. It's protectionism, because if they sold them in America, which eventually they did, but at the time, it's half the price, better quality, but they wouldn't allow them in. But because they're in the military, they could bring them over. But ordinary citizens, you can't go down to Sears or let's just say Best Buy or whatever. You can't go down to any electronics store, Radio Shacks or anything like that and get these. See, that's what's going on right now. So you ask me what's going to happen. China's going to have, let's just say China uses, because they're going to use the USM, that NAFTA, that Trump actually redid. And China is not our friend, right? Mexico allegedly is not our friend either. But you want to know something? Guess what happened? If you build something because of that USMC agreement, 75% of whatever's assembled in the country, you're talking 100% tariffs. They don't have to pay 100% tariffs. They're going to pay 75%. This is stuff that people don't know, right? So let me ask you something. If you know that there's an EV vehicle that's going to be made in Mexico, and that EV vehicle cost $19,000-$20,000 and gets about 250 to 300 miles per full charge, and now you go up and go to Tesla, which is like one of the main players, and you start looking at EV models in the United States, and you're seeing 50 grand, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 150. And even with the 75% increase, it's going to be in the 30,000s. Do you think that American citizens are going to go, nah, it's China. Nah, I'm not going to buy it. They're going to be like, did you just say 30-some $1,000? Hell yeah, we're buying it. So that 100% tariff is just BS. It's going to be less, and it ain't going to happen, because if you do this, that means other products that come into the US is going to be double the price for the United States citizen. So you now, all those that are living paycheck to paycheck already, 70%, you're going to have a problem, because now imagine paying 75 to 100% more for things that you buy every day that you don't realize is made in China. See, that's where the problem is going to come in. And we have a lot more products made in China, or sourcing. Let's just say we'll use the Callaway clubs. They're actually made in China. They're assembled in SoCal, right? Each piece now is going to be charged 100% more, which means the price has to go up 300% just to break even. That's what people don't realize. There's pieces. So if each piece is costing me 100% more, then that means all total, when we put it together, it's 300% more. See, this is what people don't realize. When you start thinking about it, you're like, wait a minute. If you do this, taxpayers are not taxpayers, but ordinary, everybody who buys product inside the US is going to be paying more for anything that involves Chinese assembly, making, anything. You want to know something else? There's companies, United States companies, that manufacture in China. Think about this. Some of you start going, well, wait a minute, I don't like it because we have US citizens or US companies going to Mexico, going to China. Well, there's a reason. It's strategic. If you make something in the United States and you need to ship it to Thailand, Vietnam, Dubai, why would you ship it from America? You know how much it's going to cost? So I want to be on that continent. So it makes sense that I'd be on that continent, because then I can just get it over to the EU. I can get it up to all the little, Ukraine and all them places. Why am I going to build it here and then ship it over to those places? And labor's cheaper there. So from an economic standpoint, that makes no sense. But go on and now about you want to do the 100%, because now the American companies that do ship back to America, they're going to be paying the 100% too. See, you have to think this through. You can't have a concept of a plan. All right? Because that already led us to the bad situation to begin with, where you're going to lose manufacturing jobs. See, this is the thing that comes with it. You're going to lose manufacturing jobs, which is what happened. And then you go, man, what happened to the jobs? Well, you started taxing people. Some of those jobs that are in China, or it could be the EU zone, and you up the tariffs, all of a sudden now they're going, well, we can't ship to the United States, but guess what's in the United States? Like I gave you the example of the Callaway Golf Center, Assembly Center in SoCal. If they can't ship the clubs unassembled to there or they send less, guess what happens? Now the manufacturing facility in SoCal has to lay people off. See how it works? There's a correlation, because now I'm not sending as much stuff over because it's too costly. And we don't have people buying like they used to because the price went up. So now we got to lay people off. I mean, there's a correlation. People don't understand this. It's easy to say, oh, yeah, we're against these guys and we're going to raise tariffs. But the reality of the situation is you're doing 19, 15, 19, 20, 19, 25. You're doing separatism, meaning you're going to do tariffs on everybody else. So now the theory is, oh, we'll do it all inside America. Well, the hell you will. You really think people are going to come out here trying to do some work for $15 to $20 an hour when you can't live on $15 to $20 an hour? The hell you will. No, you're not going to have nobody working there. You're not going to have anybody, but you will have immigrants, because in their country, $2, $3, $5, $7 a day, or scraping up whatever you can find, they're happy to get paid $10 an hour, $7 an hour. And you need immigrants for every country, because you have fat cats. Americans are fat cats. They're like, I'm not working in the field 15, 12 hours a day. I'm not going to be showing up on time every day for 300 days a year. Have you lost your mind? I'm going to be on my cell phone. You got customers, but I'm on my cell phone. No. See, this is what's going to end up happening, and has happened. This is why you can't start talking tariffs unless you know what the repercussions are. So if he wins and you get the 100%, well, we have a plan for that. That's why I told everybody, you want something offshore. Offshore. Okay. So now I'll give you offshore. We're in the Dominican Republic. I have an SRL. We were just talking. Jaway J has a place. He's going to have a place in the DR, right? George's Charles. Okay. I myself, depending on what happens with Larimar, they still haven't sent my money back, so I guess I'm still in. But whatever happens, we're all going to have business on another island. But here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. The 100% tariff to the Dominican Republic does not count. We don't have to pay 100% tariffs from China. So if I want some furniture, and George's Charles know what I'm talking about, we go to Opine. We go to Opine Furniture Company, OPPEIN. Go see our boy. Can you guys believe you can have wall units? You can have wall units specially made, any colors. You can have your tables, your coffee tables, your dining room tables and chairs, all specially made, custom made, 90 days from the DR. Full bedroom sets with a desk, specially made to your description, specifically to fit exactly in your place by measurements. When you start saying things like $3,000 for the bedroom, and it's going to have a desk, it's going to have a bed, it's going to have a wall closet and things like this, you're like, whoa, wait, really? You would go out of your mind. Then when you start going, well, I can get a dining room table for $1,200 to $1,500, and I can put my own stone on top of it. I can go get my own thing. You're like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yes, specially made. And now you're sitting there going, man, it's only going to cost me like $8,000 for specially made stuff that nobody else can have. My colors, my design, my everything. And you go down to the store to get furniture, and you're looking at one little sofa costing you like $3-4 grand. You're looking at dining room tables costing you like $2-3 grand. So now you can furnish your place a lot better, and it comes from China because you're only paying cheap prices, no tariffs. See, the rest of the world doesn't operate like the United States. So that's why you have offshore, and that's why you have corporations that have their companies are offshore. They bypass, and they can sell to the rest of the world. See, and that's what America cannot mess up and do like it's 1925, because that will put you into a Great Depression. That's why. Because now you'll be isolated, because your tariffs are so high, nobody's going to be shipping here, and your tariffs are so high that whatever they do ship here, your citizens in your country aren't going to buy. Now all your companies are going out of business. Now people are running to the bank. Yo, I need all my money, man. I don't have a job. And then the bank goes, oh, hell no. We got 5,000 people wanting their money today. Close up. Bank holiday. And now you have no money, no nothing, no way to get money, and your government to sell gold. All right? You guys got to know what's happening out here. You can Google everything I'm saying. You'll see. It ain't like this is some far-fetched stuff. It's already happened. Silver was outlawed. So that's why the old adage came in where you melt it down, put it in jewelry, because now the government can't take it from you. Literally, the government came. If they knew you had gold, they're coming to get it. Why gold? Because gold is worldwide currency. Your worthless dollar bills that you're kicking in the street, no other country wants them either. So they'll take your gold, though. So now you can get something coming back with gold. So that's what happened in the 1930s. All right. And then they banned silver in the 30s up until the 60s. Unbelievable, right? This is America, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand your history. Once you understand people have already done this before and the disaster that had occurred, you're going to be like, oh, hell no, you can't do that. You'll educate yourself just by reading the history. You'll be like, wait a minute, you're doing the tax cut, tax breaks. You're doing the tariffs. That's two of the three components of the Great Depression. Back then, they didn't have the Federal Reserve to manipulate somewhat of the system. So that's why they was able to fall completely down. But now you have the Federal Reserve that can kind of manipulate the system. But we're already $37 trillion at a deficit. Back then, we didn't have such a thing of a deficit. We had a small one. So, but even then, the repercussions are dire. And now it's even worse because banks don't hold money. So now just if you wanted 20 grand and then another person wants 50 or 25 grand, the bank is going to say, we don't have it. Come back in 3 or 4 days. But what's going to happen if you had 500 people that is asking for their money like that? They're going to go, we don't have the money. So we got bank holidays. Now you're sitting there with no food, no money, and nothing at the grocery store. Now, what are you going to do? You're going to wish you would have bought property outside the United States and that you can get on any boat to leave. Right? All I'm saying. So this was my plan, and this is why we started talking about this a long time ago. Because depending on what happens, you always have an exit strategy. You can always leave. Even if you're so far in America, even if America, they shut off everybody's passports and said you can't leave. You best believe I'm going to the East Coast. I'm going to be sitting at the dock and I'm going to have to make some sort of deal and say, hey, man, I need to get to the DR. Are you going over there? And they're going to be like, yeah, we're going. And when I'm getting on. I'm saying, right? Once I get to the island, it really won't matter. I know I have 90 days. And at that point, the DR, you can hide, quite frankly. And here's their penalty if you go past your 90 days. Can you believe that they make you pay like $45, $50? I mean, it's minimal. But if you own property there, bank accounts are there, you might just be able to finagle yourself into some sort of residency temporarily. You see where I'm going with this? So that's the situation. Brian P's in the house. Mr. Dividend is here. Welcome to the SSN Nation Money Making Monday live stream. And he has that icon next to his name that I humbly appreciate as well. And he brings his tagline this evening. Hello, Eric. I hope all is well with you. Yes, it is. Hello, SSN family. Smash that like button. I like it. And he says also, I got the notification and I saw the videos. Thank you so much, man. I greatly appreciate that. And he says, James Way is here as well. Another man of the hour. Welcome to the SSN Nation Money Making Monday live stream. I humbly appreciate that icon next to your name. And he says his tagline, hello all, got the notification. Whoever wins tomorrow, I feel the rent will continue to be too damn high. He's a smart man, James Way, because it's already in motion, ladies and gentlemen, because the Federal Reserve said we're going to reduce the interest rates. That means they're going to be printing more money. They're going to be getting more loans. I mean, the rich guys that have assets, inflating the currency. So he's right. It's going to be. RIP to Quincy Jones. Exactly. One of the baddest dudes on the planet. One of the baddest. Jawway J. Eric, you're right. People might as well forget about Christmas gifts next year because everything comes from China. Exactly. Exactly. Everybody's just taking all these leisures for the last 25, 30 years. With the China experiment, China's been, loving life. And by the way, I should mention one other thing about tariffs. Okay, so if somebody tells you we're punishing the other country, they're not. What that causes is a deficit, a trade deficit between America and the other country. So I'll give you a perfect example. When this happened before, the Chinese said, you know what? We're not going to buy your soybeans from your farmers anymore. Since you want to charge us tariffs, we'll just go down to South and Central America and buy soybeans from them. Our farmers filing bankruptcy, going out of business. Then American taxpayers have to give bailout money to the farmers because now their whole crops are worthless. So now taxpayers are paying bailouts to the farmers. But there's one last little trigger point that a lot of people forget. Farmers make the food. Farmers are bankrupt. They don't have the food. They're spoiling the food. And somebody asks and acts stupid like the price of groceries went up. When you have farmers going out of business, I think the price of food is going to go up to add insult to injury. And when you're giving these guys $20 to $40 billion as a bailout, now you also hurt me as a taxpayer because I have to pay that. But you just increased $40 billion of currency in the money supply, which now means it's going to cost me more money down the future because you gave me higher inflation. Are you guys getting this yet? So you can easily see why 2 to 3 years later, food's going to cost more. There's going to be issues because it doesn't happen today. Just because a farmer goes out of business today, we haven't harvested anything and took it to the store yet. But now we're going to harvest whatever we have left over. But now it's going to cost more. We're going out of business. It's simple. This isn't even hard to figure out. It's not even hard. So when somebody does these things, it's against the capitalist system and it's against the citizens. So then I ask you guys again, if you tell me the rich guys are getting tax breaks while I got to pay more money because you're doing stupid stuff. I got to pay more for food, more for stuff that comes out of China, which is almost damn near a lot, 70%. And now I got to worry about my job because now people have to do layoffs. The farm guys are losing their farms. So now more people are laid off. Now what? We don't even have jobs, which is what happened as a side effect. Jobs were lost, the most by an American president since Hubert Humphrey. Maybe even more than Hubert Humphrey. The only two presidents that have a negative employment of jobs rating in the whole world. Right? Them two out of all our presidents. That's it. And those two one's responsible for the Great Depression. The same moves that he did is what our 45th president Trump did. And you guys are wondering, oh, wow, it blames somebody else. I'm like, no. It's because of all those things. 2 to 3 years later, it's going to cost us more. And I'll even get into something else since we're talking a little political. And you should also be mad at a president who calls up Saudi Arabia, who calls up Russia, and says, when it's the pandemic, remember the pandemic when nobody's really driving around. So what's happening? The gas prices are dropping, right? Supply and demand. Nobody's out driving around because, stuff was closed down. But can you believe in 2020, in the midst of a pandemic, a president of the United States calls up Russia and calls up Saudi Arabia and goes, hey, man, you know what? Our dollar isn't doing so well. Why don't you cut oil production? You're like, what are you doing? Cut oil production? You do realize if you cut oil production, that means oil's going to go back up. Gas prices are going to increase when we come out of this, which is what happened. So now when there's demand and you've already cut the oil supply down, now you don't meet the demand, so the prices pop up. And then you're going to blame somebody else. You can Google all I'm telling you, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's like, what are you doing? Who do you work for? I'm like, who are you working for here? So when you do activity like that, I'm sitting there like pulling my hair out, like, who is telling this dude to do this stuff? All you care about is the stock market. But unfortunately, because we're in a pandemic, the stock market goes down because businesses are losing their shirts because of, you've already done the tariff thing. You've already done this. Farmers are losing their money, all that stuff. And they're on the stock exchange. So the prices are going down, the stock market prices, right? So you're pulling your hair out. What do you mean you're calling Russia and Saudi Arabia, telling them, hey, man, cut oil production? Jesus Christ. We already have oil in the tankers. We already have oil in the gas stations. But in a month or two, when we get out of the pandemic and people start driving again, now you're going to have a high demand and the oil companies are going to take advantage. So what happens? A year later, they all of a sudden have all-time record high profits. Duh. Jesus. Paul Castillo, welcome to the SSN Nation Money Making Monday live stream with that icon next to your name, which I humbly appreciate. And he brings his tagline this evening. Good evening, SSN family. Don't forget to vote. That's right. You can't sit on the sidelines, ladies and gentlemen. I don't care which party you're on. You have to vote. You can't sit here and be like, well, I didn't vote. And then the next words out of your mouth is, I'm complaining. I'm like, well, what do you got to be complaining about? You sat idly by. You didn't care. You should have been at the polls voting. Why are you sitting around? And then whoever wins, that's irrelevant. The point is, there could be 1 million people like you sitting at home going, I'm not going to vote. And then after something happens, you start complaining. And then it's like, well, they're doing this. They did that. I'm like, well, what are you complaining for? Just go sit back on the sideline. Live your life. So this is why people get revved up who are adamant about voting, right? You could see you're adamant. I like these policies for this candidate, that candidate. So that's why you have a lot of people, rah, rah, I love it. But you know what's going on in America? Because they've taken away history books and rewritten them or omitted facts, there's hardly anybody reading what happened and caused the Great Depression, right? So those people don't know what policies led to it. So therefore, they don't know what policies to watch out for. So when somebody's talking to you and starts doing this crazy stuff, you're thinking in your head, wait a minute, isn't that how the Great Depression happened? What do you mean it's all good with a smile on your face? No, it's not all good. I know history. I've studied economics. You will know this, even though you don't call it studying, but you study. If you find out how the Great Depression, what steps Hoover did, and why it was the Roaring 20s, just like it was the Roaring 2012 to 2020, same thing. And then we have a, right? Then you'll start understanding the correlation. Then you'll be up to speed. Then you'll be like, whoa, wait a minute, I'm more educated now. I know better. You make sure you follow, guys. Fracita 40114, Vince Lamont, I see you in the house. Shiver Ma 053, Masi El Perez Torres. I see you switched up the name. I see you, man. Thank you so much for being in the house on Instagram. Greatly appreciated out there. That's right. I'm on Instagram Live now. We're on Twitch. We're on podcast pages. We're all over the universe, ladies and gentlemen. It does not matter. We rolling, we rocking, we rolling. Oh, by the way, in case some of you have just joined us, make sure Paul Castillo, who might be better for DR, Trump or Harris or who cares? We don't care. Remember, DR is not part of the U.S. So you have to worry about what's happening in the DR. Like the 18% ITBIS, it's going down. It's probably going to be added for all those Airbnb and digital platforms. It's going to be added on to when the consumer buys and pays on their checkout. 18% is going to be added. The other part, though, is you're making money on the Dominican Republic soil. You're going to have IOUs in taxes. Just so you know. And the taxes go by income. So I'll give an example. You have an Airbnb. You made $20,000 in profit. So that's going to be considered your income. Anything over $16,500 is taxed at 25%. You got to give up 1/4 of your 20%, which means 5,000. You got to pay tax of the DR $5,000. It'll be a tax write-off in the US because you're a US citizen. You don't have to pay twice. So as a US citizen, if you made $20,000 in the DR, as a US citizen, that's $20,000 that you have to report to the IRS. But what's going to end up happening is you need to see your accountant. Is it worth to pay you're going to have to pay $5,000 to the DR. That means you don't have to pay $5,000 to the United States because they have a treaty agreement. All right. So, but that's $5,000. That's significant. All right. Now, if you want to pay zero in taxes, well, who wants to make only $6,900 profit? Then you pay zero because they have a progressive tax rate. And then they tax between 6,900 USD up until I think it's 9,000. Then it goes to 15%, then 9,000 to like 14 or 16,000, 20%. And then anything above 16,005 USD, 25%. But it ain't no fun paying 25%. That's significant. What was you turn sugar into, that bad word. It's like, geez, you're thinking you're doing great. And then the next thing you know is like, where's my $5,000? Then the next thing you know, it's like you're already paid your 30% for your management fee. All of a sudden you're like, damn, I gave up like another $6,000 or $7,000 to my management company this year. I'm giving up $5,000 to these guys. That's 11, 12 grand. We can't have low occupancy rates unless we bought at the right price, because that's one of the wickedest things. If there's a hurricane or any disturbance on the island and you're an investor, that means you're going to have a lower occupancy rate. And if you need a high occupancy rate to maintain a reasonable income level, then you don't want to buy. All right. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. You're on the island, man. The only thing that's going to matter I don't even think there's anything that's going to matter. You're not under the USA rules. You're under and they have the treaty. So you don't have to worry about that. So there's nothing that's going to happen. There's nothing substantial. The DR is not a first world country. All right. Nor is it considered second world at this point because they don't have the tax reform bill. That didn't happen. So the IMF, that's one of the requirements to get their banking system up to the USA standards, the EU standards. Otherwise, we can't do business with you like that. You'll still be this second tier, but you can't get those 2% loans, 1% loans. Right now, you're going to have to pay them 5 to 7% loans or higher. Right. So that's what's going on. So we don't have to worry about that because they're not tied together. It's not like it's Puerto Rico or Guam or something like that. So, it's a whole different separate island, which does business with countries that the United States puts tariffs on. So I'm just saying, China and DR may even have a 0% tariff because they have the same economic level. All right, Jaway J, as an investor, you have to be concerned about Trump's latest crypto venture, a private DeFi project aimed at accredited investors. Okay, I don't want to turn this into bashing, but I'm going to have to. Ladies and gentlemen, every business this man has ever started, he's failed. This is why he had to put his name on buildings. All right. Instead of, it's a lot easier to put your name on a building and manage a property, front desk, office, bellman, doorman, stuff like that. That's nothing because you're getting a percentage from the manager. You're getting 20%, 25% management fee, plus you get your licensing for your name on the thing. So you're probably raking in 30% to 35% just for doing nothing. You're not taking the risk of occupancy. You're not taking the risk. You didn't build the place either. So the person that built the place, they're taking the risk. You're just managing it. And that was the agreement. I'm going to manage it, have my name on it, and then you build it. They take the risk. So when you go look up Trump Baja, Trump Panama, now you see why sugar went to the bad word. Because another developer built those. In Baja, the developer ended up not building it, but Trump promoted it because his name was going to be on there. Now there's lawsuits, of course. This is from 7, 8 years, 10 years ago. But the point is, that's what happens. He doesn't know business. Basically, this crypto thing, somebody else is doing it. It's not him. He's lending his name to it. That's what he's always done. He's lent his name to most of the products because that way he has no risk. And then he gets a percentage of the sales. You know, like Kevin O'Leary likes to do those type of deals, right? So license, and then everything that's sold, I get a piece, right? That's what he does. So he's any business that he actually had to run, which means since he only wants his family to be involved, the business is never flourishing. So therefore, he only licensed right now. So somebody's going to come out with the DeFi thing. He's going to have his name on it. He doesn't have anything to really do with it. And then he probably is going to have some coins that they're going to say, here, we'll give you 1 billion coins or whatever. And he's rolling, right? Who wouldn't love that? Some crypto project says, let me have your name. You guys promote it because you have millions, hundreds of millions of followers around the world. You promote it. I give you 1 billion coins. You guys can see where it goes from there. If the coin goes up to 50 cents, billions of coins, like in True Social, billions of coins. So I give you 10 billion coins and the coin goes up to $1. That's what he does. He's not the business guy. All right. You guys should be able to tell by now, after all these years, he's been talking to people and saying, well, how will you do it? And then he starts on this whimsical, I'll do it this way. It's easy. That's not how you do it. How would you do it? Lay some steps down. Well, I can't tell you right now. Of course you can't, because he doesn't run businesses. All right. You guys he has a golf course. Who runs the golf course? The groundskeepers, the guy that gets the golf carts, the people at the front desk, the guys that are in the restaurant. He ain't running that. It's not even his staff, right? So he had his name's on it, but he's not there running it. He has a management company and they manage it. And then they hire, you guys can rent the restaurant space. You can rent the shopping area. So they get revenue from that. And it's again, since he owns the golf courses, so he gets revenue from those spaces that he rents out, right? So that's what this is. He's not like what you're thinking, like I'm going to go in business for myself and run it. Hell no, he doesn't do that. That's why everything he's done like that fails. And then or goes in bankruptcy. Fails and goes in bankruptcy. So you got to know who you're dealing with. And oh, by the way, why am I saying a lot of this stuff is I've never really talked about a lot, but one of my friends, Trump is like, he has stuff in California, right? Like a lot of stuff in California that people don't really talk about. He has a golf course in Cali too. And one of my friends dated one of his lawyers, one of Trump's lawyer's ex-wife. Trump's lawyer's ex-wife, she would go off. She would start telling all kind of stuff that the public doesn't know. So he'd go, hey, man, can you believe this? And I'd be like, I believe it because it's fake. And he's like, how did you know? I said, because I know people in New York. He just rips people off. That's all he does. He doesn't, if he has a business, he rips you off and then the business goes down, then he files bankruptcy. So, and then nobody gets paid. Not even the banks. That's why no U.S. bank mess with him. But the point I'm trying to make is the stuff that people think is real these days is a fantasy. So I'll give you a perfect example. Apprentice. Do you guys realize that was not a reality show? It was a show. It wasn't real. All right. So when he says, I have these products, They trotted them out and said, these are Trump products. They're not in any store. You didn't know this because what you saw was TV. You saw, oh, wait, Trump water wrapped around looking like this with the name on it. Then they would say, go put them in a store and sell them. Who makes the most? We'll make a contest out of it. The store signs off because they get promotion. They're like, okay, this day, this time, they're selling it. Okay. In his hotels, in his golf places, he has in certain locations, it could be in a store, but it's not like it's world. It's not like USA-wide. So you guys aren't dealing with a guy that does business for real. All right. It's all show. And then some people are going to say to me, Eric, how come I never heard about this? Okay. You want to know why you didn't hear about it? Let me ask you something. If you're on TV in 2002, film and okay, I'm back. If you are involved with the show, do you guys don't know? Oh, see, this is the things people don't realize. Everybody that's involved with the show, from the contestants to the cameraman to the producers, before they get on the project, they have to sign an NDA. The NDA, 20, 25 years, 30 years. So when a person is like, it's 2000 and you're doing The Apprentice, you can't say crap. And you're watching it on your living room like, this MFer, he's lying. And you're like, can't say nothing because if you do, you got lawsuit. Right? So now what happens? 20-year NDA pops up 2022, 2023, because yours was 20 years. You start telling people, hey, man, this is what it was like there. And now people go, well, why didn't you say anything sooner? Why didn't you speak up? He had an NDA. Everybody has an NDA. That's what people don't get. So it has to be 20, 25 years later because none of them want to spend the money to fight it. So that's where this all comes from. And so he's been able to hide all the deficiencies because otherwise people would have been telling you from 2003 to they would have been telling you the whole time that it was all a sham. But nobody knows that. So everybody believes what they saw on Apprentice. And he's always been a promotional guy, being in movies, having those special pieces, things like that, right? So people believe he's a successful business guy when in fact, it's not even nowhere near the truth. And as you can tell, if you were a businessman, think about something. If you're a businessman for, let's say, 30 years, and you've been doing international business deals, how is it that you're not going to actually have plans? After your whole life, your dad and you worked at your company ever since you were 18 years old. He's 78 now. This man had his own company because his dad left him $400 million in today's money, the trust fund kid. So, and he threw all that away. But here's the point. That is freaking 60 years he's been in business. And this guy can't tell you what's going to happen if I do a tariff. What's going to happen if I do this? He has no real business plan. But people believe he's a business guy because they saw him on Apprentice. And for his whole life, he's been promoting himself. Very good, I might add. But that's easy for Hollywood. That's why he knows social media so well, because he knows what you do for promotional teasers. See, he was ahead of everybody in 2016, 2014, 2015. He knows how to do promotional teasers for Hollywood type stuff, right? For reality TV shows, right? He had a huge advantage But now the other team can do promotional teasers as well. So his advantage shrunk. So that's what's been happening. Just so you guys get an idea. I'm just trying to give you guys up to speed. All right. So that's why when I talk about this one candidate, I know a lot because I actually studied and I lived in Cali. And like I said, there's people that I've known that work for him. And like I said, one of my good friends, ex-wife, one of the lawyers, and she was talking all kind of noise, bad noise. And so I'm like, are you kidding me right now? I go up to do something to do with a loan. And I'm sitting there talking about the loans. And I said, somehow Trump's name came up. And the guy from New York goes, hey, man, you know nobody loans to him, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, they don't loan. The United States banks don't loan to him anymore because he don't pay them back. He always files bankruptcy or just doesn't pay them back. And then they have to renegotiate the loan. I was like, get out of here. So then I went online, researched. I was like, wait a minute, this dude done filed bankruptcy like 3 times already. So then I was like, wait a minute, the Saudi king, all these people are buying his assets. So therefore he can't go out and bankrupt. I was like, this is wild. It's all smoke and mirrors. All right, Michael Anthony, PFE or Pfizer Inc. I've been buying since the company beat with 106 when Street was looking for 61, which announced the 42 cents dividend with all upgrades over $32. Very nice, Michael Anthony. This is what you have to look for, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, I don't know what's going to happen with the pharmaceutical industry because if one candidate wins, in Kamala's case, she's trying to make Medicare for all possibility, which means everybody would be covered with drugs and healthcare and things like that. That also means when I go off to the Dominican Republic, go off to Philippines, Mexico, and I go up on the street to get antibiotics and things like that because you don't need a doctor's permit, and that stuff is like cheap as freaking hell, you get pissed when you come back to the USA because you realize our pharmaceutical business here in the USA, they're charging, let's just say for, I don't know, 100 capsules. You could find yourself for $12.95, $13, $14, $15, $20 for these 100 capsules, right? You go outside the country and all of a sudden these dudes are talking like, oh, that'll be 5 cents each. I'm like, what'd you just say? I'm like, are you serious right now? $5? And this thing in the States costs 15? And you can get, I'll give you something example right now. We're in the Dominican Republic and the wife, as you guys may not know, here's the new product, SSN Lifestyle Health Products. This is what the wife does. She's a manufacturer, by the way. She manufactures my ingredients, D3, K2, and magnesium cream that goes inside through your blood so you don't ingest it. Anyhow, this will be up on SSN Lifestyle later this week that you can actually buy these products. But you don't understand the discrepancy between how much we pay for pharmaceuticals and the rest of the world. And you should be pissed because once you go outside the United States and you go around and you're just like looking at stuff and you can buy it off the shelves without having to go to a doctor. Because here in America, antibiotics, you have to go see the doctor, right? Can you imagine just going to into a pharmacy going, hey, I need penicillin? They're like, yes, 10 cents a pill, stuff like that. And you're just like, okay, that saved me a unnecessary doctor visit. I'm just like, this is insane what they make us do in America. And we're paying 2 to 3 to 5 to 10 times as much. But I'll get back to the story. So you know there's a weight loss product that they sell in America called Ozempic. You have to keep it in the fridge, do whatever. I'm not really familiar with it because that's nothing I would mess with. But here in America, supposedly it's $400, $500, $600. Ozempic in the DR is $200. See what I'm talking about? $200 or 4 or 6. See, this is a perfect example. Crazy, right? So I like the idea with Pfizer. You know why I like the idea of Pfizer? Because if one candidate does win this, who doesn't care about the EPA, there's going to be a lot more sick people. All right. So all pharmaceutical companies are going to be able to charge you whatever they want. And if a candidate does take away your Affordable Care Act, good luck, because a lot of people have pre-existing conditions. You will no longer be covered. No insurance company is going to cover you. Just saying. So you're going to have a big problem. And by the way, I suggest you guys who want to stay healthy, you better start acting like you want healthy food, because what's inside our United States can't even sell products to the rest of the world, which is isolationism, because they want to put in those dyes and put in this stuff that's bad for you. Half of the world doesn't allow you to put those ingredients in products that people consume. So they can't sell their products in another country. Like there's products you can't sell in the DR. And if you do sell the products in the DR that's a US manufacturer, they have to take out the products that they sell in DR. They have to take out the bad ingredients that is on the ban list. See, there's a lot of things that people don't realize. You need to travel. That's why you always should travel. Then you're going to find out. And then you're going to get the same product you'll see on the shelf and you'll be like tasting. It's like, this tastes weird. Right. Because all that bad stuff is not in there. Because in America, they put flavors, they put all this stuff in there. But outside of America, you can't do that in a lot of countries. So therefore, now it has a natural taste, but you're not used to it because it doesn't have the sugars in it, doesn't have the dyes in it. It's a different color. You're like, this just tastes weird, but it's the same packaging. All of that is a problem. And I'll just, while we're talking about elections, this is what Trump plans to do, right? Take away the EPA. So now we can dump stuff in the rivers like it's 1919 again. 1900, 1865, when rivers used to catch on fire. That's right. That's history too. You can go look it up. Just like you're in the Philippines or you're in DR or you're in Asia where the sewer is running through your rivers. Yeah, we were trying to get away from that because somebody has to clean all that up and it's going to be intake. Now you're drinking water. Can't drink the water. 1970 something, early. Go visit a friend of my parents. We're in LA. The lady says, hey, do you want some water? I said, sure. She goes, go get a glass. So I go to get a glass. I hit the faucet. She freaks out. She's like, no, don't drink that. Don't drink that. I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? She's like, no, we can't drink the water here. In the 70s in LA. Just to give you guys an idea. You have to pay for infrastructure, by the way. 70s, not 1870, not 1925, not 1950, 1970 something. All right. Will the crypto market be affected if Trump wins? I don't think so. He's not a crypto guy, but he can talk like a crypto guy. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. He just has a project. He's not gonna he can't. I'll put it this way. He cannot allow crypto to be a currency. No government can do that. Because if you do that, then people are going to be printing money out of thin air. Better than the Federal Reserve. So imagine. See, this is why crypto can't be mainstream, so to speak. Because imagine if all of a sudden you treat crypto like it's a US dollar. And now all of a sudden people aren't buying or using the US dollar. They're just putting it into the crypto market. Now you're making transactions in crypto. So what does that mean the government has to do? That means the government has to regulate it. That means the government's going to tax it. They're going to add fees and they're going to do what they do right now. Make sure that you're regulated and like a Coinbase. So all your money has to funnel through them. And the United States is going to be able to track it. So in other words, why do that when you just going to release it to the world? No, you're not going to do that. No country's going to do that. You're going to have these third world countries doing that because it doesn't hurt them. They don't have world currency. Because remember, USA has world currency. So that's why they'll never just carte blanche be like, yeah, just you guys, crypto's legal in USA. Who do you think's the number one country? We're the number one consumer nation in the world. We buy the most crypto. So that would kill our currency. You can't have that. Think about it. All right. Think about it. All right, Jawway J, this is raised eyebrows and accusations of opportunism, leaving the door open for pro-crypto voters to make a different choice. Exactly. Exactly. And it's America. So what do you think is going to happen? You guys know what's going to happen. It's just like the tariff thing. It's if they allow crypto in some sort of capacity, then you're going to have to go through a regulated exchange. And then the United States government's going to add a tax. So, okay, you're dealing with crypto, but you're going to be paying taxes, just like what they did. If you have this, they're treating it like capital gains for that tax. But what I'm talking about is the fee would get higher because they're going to charge, like Coinbase and those guys, a fee. So now when you're loading money, they go, yeah, it's going to be $10 or 20 or 30, depending on how much you load up. You're going to pay that, plus you're going to be paying the fee, the gas fees. So that's what would happen if they mainstream this. And I know there's just no way. You can't do that. I'm just saying from a government perspective, I can't have my currency detoured. We can't. We already are about 54.6% of the world's currency is a US dollar. Imagine if all of a sudden we're offloading our dollars into crypto and it's sitting in the millionaires, billionaires of crypto's hands, and they're just buying boats, yachts, planes, buying stuff overseas, putting it in vaults, reducing the amount of currency. You do understand that's the problem. That's one of the problems with the drug cartels. When they have buildings stacked with dollar bills out of circulation. US has to print more bills. And now you have other situations that come up around the world when you don't have enough US dollars circulating. This is a problem. That's why we're losing. And of course, we have a deficit. So obviously our currency value goes down. So yeah, unfortunately, the crypto thing won't make a difference. You can buy crypto right now. He's not going to do anything. You can already buy crypto. Well, not all cryptos, but hey, this gives us a time to go get your unstoppable domain, ladies and go get your unstoppable domain, ladies and gentlemen. Because if he wins, they consider that pro crypto, right? That's what they're going to consider it. But the reality is I can buy crypto right now. Go to Unstoppable Domains. I put it in the chat room. And the reason why you want an unstoppable domain is because I'll give you an example. SSN Lifestyle, ssnlifestyle.crypto, stopstrugglingnow.crypto, ericbird.crypto. If somebody needs to send me crypto, one of the top 350 to 400 coins, and you say, I want to send you some money, all I do is say, okay, ericbird.crypto, stopstrugglingnow.crypto, or I have stopstrugglingnow.nft. Either way, I don't have to send you my alphanumeric character, right? I don't have to send you anything. You can just say, okay, Eric, I'm going to send you Tron. Okay. I'm going to send you Bitcoin. Okay. I'm going to send you ETH. Okay. BNB. Okay. Doesn't matter. As long as it's one of the top 400, we're good. You sending me some willy-nilly BS stuff that just came out, then no, we're not good. But yeah, any of the major ones, we're good. So that's why you want unstoppable domain. Why else do you want unstoppable domain? One-time payment, one-time fee. No other fees, no other payment. You get to mint for free on the blockchain. The important part is minting. Now that it's mint on the blockchain, you can actually put pictures and videos up and make a website, a small one, because it's not built for websites yet, but you can build up a 2 or 3 page website on the blockchain. And I could say ericbird.crypto, and you could actually go to a website if I ever built one, or ssnlifestyle.crypto if I ever wanted to build a 2 or 3 page website. Guess what else happens? You don't have an annual fee like a .com, .net, and all these others. And the other part, nobody can take it down. No ISP, no government can call up the ISP and go, hey, take that down. No, sorry, click. It's on the blockchain. Start laughing. Can't take it down. That is very powerful. It's under the radar right now. But if one day the United States woke up and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, decided to make crypto a special thing, then you already have something in place with your brand, your name. Because once your name is taken, there's a lot of people that have the same name, or your company name is taken, a lot of people have the same company names, then you're going to have to pick a .NFT, a .bitcoin, there's several. But the one key factor is no more fees. So if you pay $10, $20 for one, no fees, no annual cost. You just ride. So that's why I have so many, because I just paid that one time, $20. They had specials at one time, $10, $5, buy two, get one free. So I even got my daughters in their names. They don't even know unless they're watching my videos. I never told them because it's never mainstream. So if it ever becomes mainstream, or you live outside of the country that allows crypto, that's another thing, then it'll become a much more important thing. Because remember, I can be in Mexico and crypto's different than in America. So now that might become much more important, right? So just think about it. I'm not going to be in the DR because they are against crypto, right? So that's what's happens, all right? But yeah, that's not even a factor regarding crypto, whether who wins. It's not a factor because they want you regulated in the United States. If you start a business with crypto, you have to be regulated. And if you buy and sell, you have to go through, unless you do VPN, of course, but that's a whole nother ballgame. But generally, you got to go through a USA authorized exchange. And they're tracking you, which is another thing. Michael Anthony, I bought CAG at $29 where major support should be, but should bounce back on both CAG and PFE, both that people need to keep living. That's exactly what's going to happen. See, this is what I'm saying. This could go, okay. This right here, what we're talking about with medical, it's going to be good for medical. Why am I going to say that? No matter who wins. If Trump wins, if he takes away your health care, then we're going to have Martin Shkreli type stuff happening. Because people who rely on drugs that keep them alive, if they have to, and that damn thing costs $900, $500 to get, $1,000 to get, like Martin Shkreli pulled that BS, you're going to buy it. The pharmaceutical companies are going to be winning. On the reverse side, if Kamala wins, and a lot has to happen to do Medicare for all, but the bottom line is if you start tapering down drug cost, which is her goal, the pharmaceutical companies may agree to it and do it because they'll reduce the cost. But because they're already very profitable, if they take a 20% shave, they're still going to make profits and billions of dollars because they sell to the rest of the world at damn near 50 to 90% less than the United States citizens. So they can take off 50 to some cases up to 90% and still break even. So so whichever president there is, one's going to make the pharmaceutical companies bigger and one's going to make them about the same. That's all the difference is. So that's a win because these guys already make 100, 200, 300, 500% of profit. So if they only make 200% profit every year, so it's still billions of dollars, right? So after you have billions of dollars, just so everybody knows, I like to say this, $1 billion, just think of a bag of cash, and the bag of cash is $1 million. And then 1,000 more bags. That's $1 billion. And so now you have to understand where I come from. When a billionaire, That's 1,000 $1 million bags. And these billionaires, we have a catastrophe in America. And you don't see these billionaires going, hey, man, you know what? You guys need some help? Let me get out of my 1,000 bags. Let me take 5 of those bags out. I'm still going to have 995 bags left, and I'm going to go donate or give families in need money. We have 2,700 billionaires on the planet. All it takes is like 10 of them to go, hey, man, here's 5 of my bags out of 1,000. And most of these guys have more than 1 billion. They have 6. They have 7. We're talking about 6,000 bags of $1 million. And you guys ain't going around the world going, hey, you guys, let's band together. Each of us kick in 2 bags. And 2,700? No, that won't happen. But what if it's only like 50 of them? That'd be $100 million. But no, they want to go buy planes and jets and G6s, G7, G8s, want to take rockets up to the moon. Don't even let me get started. All right. But this is good, Michael Anthony. I like it. I think pharmaceuticals is always a good play, especially if they give you dividends. It's a long-term play. That's what pharmaceuticals are. Jaway J at Paul, yes. Harris focus on freedom and opportunity and a chance to bring balance to crypto regulation. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. That's what I'm saying. You can only go to the regulation side. You can't go to just willy-nilly, like not regulated at all. People are going to get ripped off even more. So that's one of the things. And again, there's a fine line between devaluing your currency even more. That's one of the problems. I'm going to give my $5,000 to somebody for 5,000 worth of a crypto token. Now that money's out of circulation, so to speak. The other guy got the 5,000. But the fact of the matter is now I don't use dollars. Now I'm dealing in crypto with other people. So now you're sidelining your dollar, and you don't want to devalue your dollar, and you don't want to you have world currency. You can't go down to 30% circulation, right? You need to keep it above 50%, at least. We are making money in here. That's right, Brian P. That's right, here You're Freezing Up. Hopefully that was from before. But I knew they were going to do that because you know how they do us here. All right, everybody, go to Yield Max ETFs. I have to say this every day. Some of us got paid on Friday. Once again, YMAG and YMAX. They pay dividends every Friday. I thank them very much for that. It's awfully sweet. All right, that's the Unstoppable Domain link. Go over there, 10, 20, 30, some like X. Your name.x is a something. Used to be, anyhow. I think X took it from them. But .nft and all that stuff. There's a lot of choices. And $10, $5 up to 100. A specialty name could be 100 now too. So, that's how we do it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Do elections matter to investors? Not really. You go with what the policies are. You go with when a person does a policy, then you make plans according to the policy, right? It's that simple. It's not that hard for investors. Investors just go with what they're dealing with. But there's one thing. The stock market is designed for the rich. So that's why everybody, even if you have an extra $10 from the low end, you don't have disposable income, but my God, use $10 if that's what you got and buy something. All right. Every now and then, put money in. Just keep doing it until your income improves. Then you have more disposable income, put money in. You could do this for years because the Federal Reserve is based on helping the rich. So you have to play in the rich backyard. Otherwise, you get left behind. That's why the ORCs, the Real Estate Investment Trust, right now, perfect time. Because you're in before the interest rate gets reduced another 1 point or so. It's going to happen over the next 6 months. But still, if you can get 15 to 16 to 17 to 18% as a dividend right now in a real estate investment trust, when these guys refinance their loans to a lower rate, that means they have more profit. That means their stock price is going to stay almost the same and may go up a little bit. All right. Which is what happened over the last 2 to 3 years. That's what we want. We are getting a dividend at that rate, and the stock price is moving up just a little, right? That's all we need. Get the dividend and the stock price to move up. That's a win. Because sure, you might have an NVIDIA and the stock price goes from $91 for somebody in the house right here, Joe Nay, and $91, and now it's like 134. Somebody got 40% of their money. Is that incredible or what? 40%, ladies and gentlemen. Because he bought at 91. He was available that morning when it went down to $91 and about 20 cents. He bought some shares. Those shares are now worth $134, I believe, somewhere in that ballpark. That is incredible in less than 6-7 months. So now a person has that much positive. Now it's all about how many did I buy? Can you imagine a person that bought like 1,000 shares, right? Which is a lot of money. But the fact is, that's $100,000, right? $90,000. Somebody could have bought $91.50, $500. Somebody could have bought 1,000 shares. Those 1,000 shares are now worth $134,000 in less than 7 months. A capital gains of 40, but almost 40 some, what is that? 43,000. You do realize you have to pay 25% if you decide to withdraw that in tax. So you'd have to be giving up a lot. 10,000 goes to tax, capital gains. But if you wait a year, now that's the catch. You wait a year, it's 15% if you decide to withdraw. Much, much different. You go from a little over 10,000 down to, well, we don't know what it is, but let's just say it all stayed level. So now you're just paying 6 G's. You then saved yourself 4 G's, right? So that's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. That's investing. So go to yieldmaxetfs.com, go over there and go check it out, all right? So I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I think a lot of people that talked about that election matters to investors, STR, business taxes, and the DR. Let's go look at some of that because I made part 2 today. And while you guys are here, I'm just going to go show you the expats. This is 2024. So it does show things a little bit. Here, I'll put this in the chat room. And oh, by the way, it's getting a little chilly in some parts of the United States. Make sure you go to beachfrontjava.com. Get your coffee, get your tea. Use promo code SSN Lifestyle, all caps. Our own Professor Auntie Val, she's the one, and her and her family actually do this. They have coffee and tea. So depending on your coffee, you can have fine ground, drip ground, Keurig, whole beans, half-pound bags up to 5-pound bags, and over about 20 different varieties. So depending on what you like, she has it. Her and her family has it. So go show some love for our Professor Auntie Val and family. You go again, beachfrontjava.com. Use promo code, all caps, SSN Lifestyle. Shipping is free, but your discount for life is after your first order. It's that simple. After your first order, all right? Then you'll get a discount for life for every order thereafter. So go show some love. All right. It's inexpensive, quite frankly. Shipping in the United States is free. Not all, it's all the time. All right. But the discount has to be all caps SSN Lifestyle, and it has to be after your first order. So your first order is going to be normal pricing. After that, and for the rest of the time, it's going to be discount priced. All right. Just so you know. That's where you go, beachfrontjava.com. All right. Now, let's get into something else, right? Taxes. We always have to pay taxes in the U.S. If you own property outside the United States and you're a U.S. citizen, if you own property and you're a French citizen, a Spanish citizen, it doesn't matter, any citizen. Whenever you make income, you're property of the country. That's what your social security number is. You're property of the United States. You're a subsidiary of the United States. You make money anywhere in the world, your country gets paid. That's for damn near 99% of company or of countries. All right. So you guys have to understand this. That's what's going on here in the world. Again, I've told the story before. We're over in Aruba. Well, I'm not in Aruba at this time, but my friend's playing a poker tournament in Aruba. He's from like Sweden. And I'm sitting there watching it live. It's a World Poker Tour event. And I'm like, I'll be damned. He made it to the final table. I'm watching it. He gets bust out at 3. He's third in the tournament. All of a sudden, I don't see him until we get to the World Series of Poker, though. So it's like Aruba is hell. Aruba would normally be like now, I think October, maybe. Yeah, it would have been October last month. Would have been the Aruba tournament if they still have it, because I don't play poker anymore. But the fact of the matter is, the World Series of Poker, or was it a diamond event? I can't remember. But anyhow, let's just say I seen him in May. All right. So it's like 7-8 months later. We're at the World. I'm pretty sure it was World Series of Poker. And so then I'm like anxious to ask him, right? Because third was like 200 and I'll just say 250,000, but it was in the 200s. So it was $250,000 or thereabouts. So I wanted to know what he was able to keep. What was the ramifications? So then I see him at the World Series of Poker, and I said, "Hey man, congratulations on that win at the WPT Aruba." He's like, "Oh man, yeah, thank you." And I'm like, "Why are you saying it like this? What's happening?" He goes, "Man, you wouldn't believe it. My country called me 30 minutes after I won, so I guess they were watching it on TV and said I had to give up like 50% of it." I was like, "What? You had to give up like $120,000?" He's like, "Yeah. When I go back to the country, I either send it to him now, or when I get back to the country, I'm going to be flagged," or some crazy stuff. I was like, so now I understand why he wasn't all excited. 220, 240, whatever, 250, and all you have is 120. And keep in mind, you had to do a buy-in, because I don't even think he was sponsored. He probably was, though. I think he was sponsored by UB, Ultimate Bet. But he still is a pro player. He's going to go around, right? So he needs money, because all the tournaments aren't actually sponsored, right? Just because you're sponsored don't mean they pay for all of them. And these tournaments are $5-10 grand at one time. They didn't have really $2,500 tournaments. They started that a little bit later, $1,500 tournament. You know, they started doing that later because there weren't that many poker players that could afford $5-10 grand for every tournament, and you have a tournament every week, right? That wasn't going to work, especially when only the top 10% actually get their money back or win more money out of all tournaments. And you could easily not cash for 5, 6, 7 tournaments. That's easy. The best of players. Remember, when you're a professional, you're playing against the best of the best. It's not like you have a real advantage. You have a slight advantage, but that's if you study. So that's why he was not excited, because it was only like 120 grand, 115 grand that he was actually able to keep. So that didn't change his life. That it's not like he could have went back home and bought a place, although he already owned the place. But I'm just saying, it's not like you're going to go in America and buy 100. You know, what are you getting for 100 grand? Even 15 years ago, what are you getting? You know, 15, 18 years ago, what are you getting? Nothing. So that's why he wasn't excited. It was just like, okay, they'll pay for some more buy-ins that I want to do, some cash. But yeah, he wasn't too thrilled. All right. So here's the expats guide. This is what happens in a lot of countries. So don't think it's just Dominican Republic. If you make money in a lot of countries, and whether you're a citizen of the country or not a citizen, any money made in that country, you have to pay tax on, because it's landing in that country. If the money was not landing and the properties weren't there, then it would be a different story. But here's the tax rates. This is in DOP. So unfortunately, I don't know what the DOP numbers are, but I do know the top one. This 867,000 is about 16,400. Well, just call it 16,500. A lot of people would say, man, I planned on making more than $16,500 per year with my short-term rental or my long-term rental in the DR. That's right. And guess what happens? Anything at 16.5 and up, you're going to have to pay 25% tax. Look at taxable income includes cash and non-cash compensation, just like in America. You know, earnings, employment earnings. Can you imagine employment earnings? And you got to give up 25%? Sheesh, progressive, just like America. Self-employment earnings. Can you imagine? Capital gains. Can you imagine? You sold a piece of property. You got $100,000 worth of equity, and you got to give these dudes $25,000. Wow. Benefits, which means if your company's, this is what Trump got in trouble for. America's the same way. You pay tax on this. So what happened with the Trump guys? They said here's your salary of, let's just say $1 million. But we're going to pay for your kids' private school. The private school is $20,000 a year. You have 2 kids, that's $40,000 a year, right? But that is taxable. So if you don't pay any tax on it, tax evasion, or you have a tax bill. But how you get in trouble is when you file your taxes and don't declare that you got those benefits and you don't pay taxes on it and you keep doing it 1 year, 2 year, 4 year, 5 year, and then you're making deductions to the state of New York saying, I only made $1 million. But in reality, you made $1,040,000. Then when you say the other benefit is my $100,000 car, all of a sudden it's not 1 million, that's 1,140,000. So now you're avoiding tax to the state of New York because you're claiming $140,000 less, which means each year you're paying less tax that you should have paid to the state of New York. Now it comes up, wait, what's your IRS tax bill? Show us your IRS taxes, because that means if you did that, that means you didn't pay your IRS taxes. And then you purposely hid it. So you had 2 ledgers. So one ledger showed the money, the benefits. The other ledger showed no benefits. But in court, you say we have benefits. That means you were defrauding the state of New York. So the jury says guilty, 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 because it's plain and obvious. You've been doing this for 20 years. This is not a mistake. And then the question comes up, what did your accountant say? We don't care what the accountant said. This is what we did. Wait, you don't go by general accounting principles? You know you can't do this. What do you mean general accounting principles? Who cares about that? Oh my God, seriously? You're saying this on the stand? Okay, let's bring in your accountants. Let's bring in your accountant teams that signed off on your tax returns. Your Honor, we just took what they said at face value. We don't represent them no more. They lied to us. Okay, every jury's going to say you're guilty, man. You're not getting out of this one. You're in a binder. You're in a vice. You're done. Housing stipends. So again, when you tell somebody we have a condo on the Upper East Side of New York that you can go stay sometimes, instead of having to drive across the Long Island or whatever, you can just stay over here. That again, how much is that thing worth? Oh, it's worth 2.5 million. Wait, did you put this on the taxes? No. Oh, well then you're defrauding the state. Where's our taxes? See, meal and clothing allowances, same as USA. I work for a company. My company says, Eric, you have a $10,000 annual Gear allowance. Okay, I can get me a few suits. Great. But on my taxes, that is actually money. That is money. They're calling it a stipend for my clothing, but that's money. The corporation paid for it. That's a salary. That's a bonus. All right. Meals as well. Reimbursement for education, travel, and other professional expenses. And once again, you're going to get caught up because, again, you do any of this stuff and you have to either do an expense or you have to figure out if this is an ordinary thing. So we got our own private jet. You can go to the Super Bowl. You can go to the NBA Finals. You can go to the Michigan-Ohio State game. That is a benefit. That's not part of your business, right? Unless you do the smart stuff. We got business there, right? But that, for the most part, now all of a sudden you're like, that private jet that costs $250,000 round trip. That's a benefit. You see where I'm going with this? So hopefully you guys understand this is part of why you get in trouble. If you don't understand from a business standpoint, when you make a lot of money, there's a lot of things that ordinary people don't have to worry about, but you have to worry about. And the tax man's going to come calling, especially if you continuously do it. And then somebody gets caught like Michael Cohen. And he actually says, here's the some money that I gave them. I wrote off some stuff. I paid a porn stars. I gave them a few $100,000 or $1 million, whatever the case may be. And then they're going, well, wait, what do you mean you gave them $1 million? Where's that at? Where did you get the $1 million from? Where's that on your forms? It's not on the forms. What do you mean? What are you talking about? It's not on the forms. See, you're breaking laws left and right. From accounting, you're breaking laws. And you're also not paying the state of New York what you owe them. Now, 9 times out of 10, when they got the first call and said, hey, man, we understand you're not paying your stuff properly. Now, you know, what was going to happen at that point? You know, what was going to happen? It was just simple. They'd be like, okay, yeah, you're right. We didn't do it. Yeah, we'll pay the penalty. And how much is the penalty? Well, you've been doing this for like 20 years and 25 years, 30 years. The penalty is going to be, I don't know, 15 million, 20 million. And then you have the audacity to go, no. And you know what you did. No, we're not going to do it. Well, if we have you dead to rights, sir. No, I'm not going to pay it. Just give us 20 million, accept a plea and say you did it. And then we'll restrict you somewhat. And then 5 years later or whatever, you'll be good to roll. No, I'm not doing that. Sir, we're going to have to take you to court if you don't do this. So you don't want to make a deal? No. Okay, you know what you did's illegal. There's no way around this. I don't care. But I'm going to use paparazzi. I'm going to use information. I'm going to misinformation everybody and tell them anything because nobody knows how taxes work. They're going to believe me. But that ain't going to help you in court because the jurors are going to be like, this is against the statutes of New York. This is obvious. We can't even fake it. We can't even sit here and say it's legal because it's so illegal. You did 10 things that are illegal, not just one. You did like 30 things that are illegal. So yeah, now all of a sudden they go, oh yeah, that's going to be a few $100 million. And now you're going to bitch and moan about it. You should have just settled up. Just like Diddy should have done settled up already. He should have said, give me my plea deal. Give me my 5 to 10, call it a day because and don't charge me for anything else. I made a video about that. You never let the legal system lock you in a box. What do I mean by lock you in a box? If the legal system, anything, IRS, anybody comes knocking at the door, you pick up the phone and be like, hey, what's up? You talk to them to see what you can do to minimize the situation. Because once it goes into a judicial situation, now it's black and white. There is no gray area. Now it's all based on law. So it's gray area as long as we're talking on the phone, as long as we can make a deal. But as soon as you start going court, the jurors are going to go by the law. And now there's no gray area. And now you're going to leave it up to the jury how much you're going to be taxed. Oof, that's high risk. High risk indeed. And then Trump effed around and found out. When these dudes said hundreds of millions of dollars, they're like, whoa, $500 million? You're going to take 500 of my $1 million stacks? With interest. So see, that's why people have to understand legalities versus walk. And then talk about lawfare. This not, you were actually doing illegal activities for the last 40 years. Anybody else, you would not have gotten even out of that. You would be in jail right now because you did so many different felonies or, well, misdemeanors, but misdemeanors add up. If you got like 3 misdemeanors, the way the court system works is that could actually be construed as a felony. They ratchet it up for each one. So the first one's a felony. Okay, you only get 6 months of probation. The next one, though, wait, you have 6 months probation. That's 12 months probation. The next one, 18 months probation. Well, hold on now. We don't have 24-month probations. Let's just say they do. But now all of a sudden it's like, but wait, you did this 10 times. Now it's a felony. And now you got to go to jail. We might give you 1 year in jail and 5 years probation, and you can't operate a business in the state of New York because your dumbass didn't make a deal, didn't pay the freaking fine and call it a day and still do business. Your dumbass wants to be a idiot. That's how you know a person's not in business, because they're willing to throw away their business over something they actually really owe, and they know they owe. That's why they hid it in their accounting book, because they have 2 books. And that's why none of your partners, like your lawyers, if they get caught, which is what happened, Michael Cohen came forward. And once that came out, you have no options at that point, because now the state knows, because he's in court giving up the docs. So now you're all in it together. So they're going to come get your docs because you claimed on your tax forms that you paid to the state of New York. You said you only made X amount of dollars. Where's these other millions of dollars coming from? That's not on your tax form. So now you got problems. You got legal problems. Why put yourself in that situation? I got to tell everybody, yes, I've been in legal situations. That's why I know best. I mean, I don't really know best. I'm just saying the best thing you can do is the first time you got to negotiate. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm going to get out of it. I'm going to get out of it. But when your lawyer sits down and says, hey, man, look, they got this 2 things. And then by rights, you can go to trial. But if the jury says that and interprets this as what you did as illegal, you could be going to jail for 5 to 10 years. Even though you're going, I'm innocent. This isn't right. This isn't the thing. But if you're willing to risk a jury, you know the jury believes the feds, the U.S. attorney. Everybody knows you're sitting at a table. The jury automatically thinks you're guilty. Most of the time, even though they say, oh, we're biased, but the fact of the matter is you're a defendant. So as soon as it looks like you're guilty, half of the jury says he's guilty. They don't even listen to anything else. That's why they have a 99% conviction rate. Because if you go through with this, there's a law, there's everything you do, there's a law on the books. The federal government has a law on the books for everything you do. All right? Everything. You think you're doing something that's normal, it's normal only because they don't enforce it. But if you become a person like a Trump, who's been getting away with stuff for 50 years, and one day the hammer comes down and they're like, wait, he's been getting away with that. And then they find out some other stuff, he's getting away with that. It just starts being a snowball. And the problem comes in, now you're going to be caught up because there's no way out. If you go to jury trial, you get more years. if you lose. And if you don't lose and have to do some sort of deal, it's not going to be ideal, but you may not be going to jail. Right? So which one are you going to take? You're going to risk going to 20 years in his case. You're going to risk going to jail for 20 years potentially, or go home in training day. Go to jail or go home. What are you trying to do here? You're going to pick go home, I would think. But no, we got dummies who like to go, no, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to risk it. How about $500 million? Is that risk enough for you now? And what you were doing was illegal. So you could go to jail and give me $500 million. So that's the risk that he took. So one of our candidates is running to stay out of jail. That's why he's going off the charts right now, saying whatever he can say, because he realizes if he loses, dude's going to be in jail in a year and a half or less. He's got IRS problems. That's why he's never shown his tax returns. He's going to have IRS problems. He's got the state of New York problems. He's got classified document problems. There's nobody on the planet, no citizen in the United States that can leave the White House with boxes of classifieds and put them up on a stage and have like 50, 60, 70 boxes of classified materials. That's crazy. Nobody can do that and still be walking around. Nobody. You can't even have one classified document at your pad and walk around if the feds wanted to come get you. You ain't walking around. You ain't walking around from day 3. Day 1, they arrest you. Day 2, you get arraignment. Day 3, you making a plea deal because they're going to be going, hey, man, you're going to 5 to 10 years. So these are the type of things you guys got to think about when you're out here and we're talking about elections. Do they matter for investors? None of this matters to investors. His problems has nothing to do with us. What has to do with us is the direction that a president will take, that tries to take. I'll put it that way, because you still got to go through Congress and, you know, the House and the Senate. They got to approve the funding, or they got to approve some money. And then the House and the Senate have to agree on it, and both have to pass it. And then it has to come to your desk. So that's why sometimes you do executive orders, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, are you buying assets? Because I'm about to wrap this up. We've had a nice talk this evening. Hopefully I've opened up people's eyes and gave you guys something to think about. If Trump loses the election, he's at risk of going to jail. He's going to jail, man. There's no at risk. He's going to jail. There's no way around it. That's why when he saw some of this polls that I showed you, the Democrats are doing very well in those 4 states, that if they win those 4 states and take out the West Coast, meaning California, Oregon, Washington, New Mexico, and Colorado, and then all of the Northeast, it's a wrap. And now he can't stop the investigations at a federal level, and he never could by state levels. He could have pressured state governors to do, you know, pardons and stuff, but now he can't. If he loses, that's why he started going off over this weekend, when he started saying, you're going to be inundated with migrants. They're going to kill your family. You're going to work. He started talking all. So that's why he started going off the edge. And then he delves into other stuff because he's 78 years old, and he starts doing that sexual thing with the microphone. And I'm like, this is a presidential candidate. I'm like, holy smokes, he just ruined his. I mean, if he had any hope, I'm like, dude, if people see this, plus that Madison Square Garden thing about Puerto Ricans being garbage, making a joke, I'm like, whether it's a joke or not, that's nothing to joke about, because the Puerto Ricans took it a certain way. Do you know how many millions of Puerto Ricans live in the United States and they're U.S. citizens? They can vote. So when you start doing 200, 300, 500,000, like you did to the Haitians, you know how many Haitians are in the United States? You got millions. So all of a sudden you activated people that normally sit at home. Now all of a sudden you got an extra 500,000 to 1 million people from Haitians voting. You got another 1 to 2 million Puerto Ricans voting. And who do you think they're going to be voting for? This is why Kamala has an advantage, all because he does stupid shit. And people are out there going, ha, 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 yeah, yes, yes, yes. I'm like, are you actually trying to lose or are you trying to win? Because this is the dumbest thing you should be doing if you're trying to win. Alienating up to 2 to 3 million people. And you don't think, well, there's 6 million Puerto Ricans in the US. All right. I'm just saying they live all over. There's at least 3 million Haitians in the US, maybe more. You're talking about 10 million people that have voting rights. You don't think half of them people are going to vote? Or at least a third? I think a third or a half is going to vote. That means he just activated 5 million additional votes for no freaking reason. And some of those people were going to vote for him. That's the craziest thing. How are you doing this? That's crazy. And one guy that they interviewed on one of the news channels was in Philadelphia, the Puerto Rican dude. He goes, man, I already voted for Trump. If he would have said this before I voted for him, hell no, that wouldn't have happened. But I already voted. But I can tell you this, all the rest of my family who didn't vote, they're now voting for Kamala. All my Puerto Rican friends in our whole block neighborhood is talking about we voting for Kamala. You just activated in Philly 500,000 people, potentially, because that's how many's there. There's more than 500,000. In Philadelphia, there's more. I mean, in Pennsylvania, there's more than half a million. So you're talking about 600, 700,000 people you just activated for no reason by acting dumb, making jokes. Was it worth it? Crazy stuff, crazy stuff, crazy stuff. Yeah, he's going to jail, man. He's going to jail. If Trump wins, he'll pardon himself. If he'll be free, yeah, he'll be free, right? That's correct. That's correct. Yeah, because he's going to tell the DOJ, don't prosecute anything. Because they're supposed to be independent. But for him, they're not. He's going to pick like Eileen Cannon. Wow. That's what he said. She would be AG. As a judge, she's going to be fired from his case because she's done illegal stuff. I'll put this unlawful in reality, but since she's a judge, she has a ruling. So the Supreme Court has to rule what's going on. But imagine if she's AG, she's his puppet. So that means she's just going to tell the DOJ, hey man, stop all the Fed cases. Drop them like a bad habit. So the classified documents that are still sitting somewhere, he's had to turn over a lot of them, but he could have some of them. Those are precious. All of our enemies, he's friends with. Think about that. That's scary stuff. Scary stuff. Scary stuff. And especially how they're buddy-buddy with Putin and Xi and the Saudi Arabian leader. So, and those guys are not really our friends. Saudi Arabia is kind of like half and half, like Israel. Half our friend, half not, because we arm them. That's why they're half. But they deal with the rest of the world that are the bad guys, and they're like their friends. That's not a good combination. So it's weird, a weird situation. And he's friends with those people. And why do you give Jared Kushner $2 billion to run a hedge fund when the guy's never done hedge fund work in his life? He's only sold real estate with the family empire. But you're going to give him $2 billion to run a hedge fund, apparently. Clearly, that was a quid pro quo, but that's a whole nother story. All right. I won't talk about it anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Just go vote tomorrow if you have not already. It's your civic duty. A lot of the kids, they don't like voting. I don't know why. Because some things that they have or don't have is because they're not voting, because they don't understand that when somebody said, I want student loan relief, so somewhat of a tax break, right? So if you think it's a good idea to have free education or student loan relief, then that may be one person you may look at, which would be Kamala, right? If you don't care because the other guys think you should pay for it, then so be it. All right. That's those are the tilt sides, right? I'll vote this way or vote that way. You got your picks. So I'm going to ask you guys something. since we're talking about taxes, what do you think bankruptcy is? Is that loan forgiveness? I believe it is. If I have an IOU with a credit card company, a loan, or anything like that, house loan, mortgage forgiveness. Now, what do you get taxed when you do bankruptcy? And let's just say you have $1 million bankruptcy. Do you get taxed? Anybody? Do you get taxed? Okay, no. You get a student loan, and the student loan gets forgiven, right? I'm just going to say it like it is. Can you believe GOP states, because they were against the student loan forgiveness, they said, we're going to tax you in our state for the student loan forgiveness? Did they tax the PPP guys that got their PPP loans forgiven? The rich guys. They got 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, 25 million. They didn't, did they? See, these are the things that people don't realize because they're out there working. They don't understand what one party's been doing to them. The other party's been like, what can we do? Because we don't control the state. We're only federal. So we can't tell a state not to tax student loan forgiveness. But you guys don't care about the PPP loans where these guys got 3, 5, 10, 20, $30 million forgiven. You don't want to tax them. You just want to be buddy, take your bribe money. See, these are the things that you guys understand. Do you think leaking, this is called leakage. So they're going to tax the ordinary citizen. Okay, you got a $20,000 loan forgiveness. And they're going to turn around and tax you 25%. But yet, when you gave the PPP loan forgiveness, you didn't tax them dudes that got $25 million, 25%. You said zero. Have a nice day. See, this is the difference. Who's paying for that tax forgiveness of the PPP loan money, which is 3 times the amount of the student loan tax forgiveness money? 3 times. Who's paying, ladies and gentlemen? You are. Somebody has to pay for that taxes and that money in the billions of dollars that is now forgiven and not having to be paid back. They added more money to the money supply. That means you have inflation. Around, I think it's around 700 to $800 billion. Student loan relief is around 300. Okay? They had no problem doing 800 to 900 billion dollar PPP loan forgiveness, but you got a problem with doing about $100 billion loan forgiveness. And you're going to tax me in certain states. Is this a joke right now? This is what you guys don't understand. There's bad guys and then there's bad guys. If you're trying to help me, you're going to give me loan forgiveness like you give the rich people. You're going to give me tax cuts and tax breaks like you do the rich people. You're not going to tell me I'm going to give the rich people tax cuts and tax breaks. And meanwhile, I make $50,000 and my tax break is $6,000. Meanwhile, the guy that makes $5 million, his tax break comparatively is $500 to $1 million. And guess who has to pay that $500 to $1 million back? The taxpayers. You see how this works? So now you go, man, why do things cost more? Well, you guys, you just took on invisible money. The money is in thin air. You just took care of somebody. You're going to be taking care of somebody else's debt and don't even know it. You're going rah, rah, shish, kumbah because our economy was going great. Well, yeah, our economy is going great. When I give somebody $900 billion and then I forgive it, and they can go out there and buy anything like some of these people, yahoos, who said they had businesses and they started buying cars and boats, and which was illegal, and they got arrested. But that's what they were out there doing. So of course the economy is going to be good. Here, you can have a 10,000, you can have 20, you can have 50. It's free money. I got 35 million, 25 million, 10 million. Of course, I can go buy $1 million car now. I can go out here and buy boats. I can go out here and tip everybody like it's raining money because it's free money, and then you're going to forgive it. But who's going to be paying for that? That's what you guys keep forgetting. If you do taxes, somebody has to pay it. I mean, loans. If you give loans or anything like that, taxpayers, United States citizen that has a Social Security number, an ITIN number, you're a subsidiary of the United States of America. So if you give me, I'm a million, let's say 100 millionaire, and you give me a tax break, tax cut where I get, I get like a $20 million tax break, tax cut. You guys have to share the payback for that 20 million because I don't pay it. I got the tax cut. Right? You got a tax cut too, but your tax cut was only like $6,000 out of your $50,000 paycheck. So it's easier to pay $6,000 over the course of 100 million people than paying 200 to 300 people who have the tax of $10 million for the rest of us. You're taking money out of my pocket and my family's pocket, right? So these are the things that you have to think about, but a lot of people don't think about it. They just think that they hear all the talk, but they don't understand the implementation and what happens. And that's why we talk about it here. And I probably talked a bit too much because that's not what I really wanted to talk about tonight. I just wanted to find out if it really matters who wins the election. I think it's unanimous that it doesn't really matter because you're going to base your investments on what the next president does while in office, right? So I'll tell you this right now. If Trump wins, and we were talking about, Michael Anthony was talking about, he got some PFE CAG, right? Pharmaceuticals. And he wins, then pharmaceutical stocks are going to go up. And I mean, they're going to go up because he's not going to do caps. So that allows them to actually charge more for the pharmaceuticals. And in America, we pay the most for pharmaceuticals. In which, like I said, you go to the DR, if you go outside of the United States, you should take advantage of getting medication. The medication that your doctor prescribes, if you have to pay for it, you should be hunting it down when you leave the country because it's going to be some stupid number. You'll be like, damn, my copay, I had to copay this for $150 or $100 or whatever. And then you find out the damn thing is $10 outside of the country. Then you're like, holy man, give me $100 worth of this stuff, 10 of them. That means I got enough supply for the next 2-3 years. All I got to do is go see my doctor and be like, I'm good with that prescription. I'm good. I don't need to go down there and spend no more $500 to $1,000 for this stuff. And you know how pharmaceuticals are. The price goes up and down for life-saving drugs. That's what life-saving drugs is the most important part. If your insulin all of a sudden was the Martin Shkreli stuff, $1,000, well, now all of a sudden you have to live. So what are you doing? You're selling stuff. You're doing whatever you can do, right? But I'm going to tell you guys something. Findhelp.org. Findhelp.org. That is from our friend Matthew Lesko, who's on late night getting people grants and everything. Go to findhelp.org and you can find help for American citizens on there. Some of it's free, but that's why you call. Some people charge, but that's why you go check. It's transportation, it's medical, it's healthcare, it's mental health. It's a whole slew of things. Job training. It's a slew of things that Americans can get help for that the United States government does not promote. Findhelp.org. That's one of them. That's major right there in itself. Go over there, peruse, put in your zip code. You can find the services. You have elderly people that you need to take care for, or get some lessons on something educational. You got that. You got a job training. You got that. You got a bunch of things that you can get for free here in America. The government has given the state or the nonprofit the money, but the nonprofit and the state, they don't really promote, right? But there's stuff there, ladies and gentlemen. There's money there for American citizens. So all these people who get upset, I was talking with some people and they go, man, all I want is what migrants get. I said, what do migrants get? Nobody ever gave me a response on what they get. They go, oh, they have a hotel room. They get some food stamps or something. They get like $3,000 or $4,000 a month or something. I don't even know if it's true. This is what they're saying. And I'm like, okay, so what do they get that American citizens can't get? You just said that. And I'm like, what do you mean? If you have no money, no place to live, no food, you go down to human services in your city and say that, they're going to say, oh, I'll put you on welfare. But I don't have a place to live. Well, because we have a lot of people that are homeless, yeah, you don't have a place to live, right? You're going to be on a list. Where am I going to live in the meantime? Well, that's a problem, right? But a lot of people don't know findhelp.org exists. They're nonprofits that does housing. The VA, Veterans Administration for the veterans, they do housing. There's lots of things that American citizens, because when we're taught, grow up to pull yourself up by the bootstraps. So that's what is inherently going on. And then everybody has association with, well, welfare is bad, right? You don't need to be down. Go get a job, right? Even though you're only going to get paid $10 an hour and you can't live anywhere, go get the job. And people are, okay, great. But that's not sustainable. So this is what's happening. People disassociate with a migrant gets this stuff. We don't get that stuff. But the United States, they have things for United States citizens. It's just you don't know where to find it. And when Matthew Lesko came on, I didn't even know about it. I've been doing work with nonprofits for 30 years. None of the nonprofits ever said, hey, you can go to findhelp.org and get help for a lot of different things. And some of those are at zero cost. And the federal and federal government and state governments fund it. And it's free in a lot of cases. When he said this, I was like, okay, we're going to go check this out. And sure enough, it's legitimate. The grants is also part of it. And I'm going to put this in here too, because a lot of people might want to deal with grants. letsgohelp.com, $20 a month. You can go over there and they have their own little group. And inside of the group, because he's like 80 years old now, he has helpers, so to speak. But people in the group, they talk amongst themselves and say, hey, I got a grant from so-and-so. And now what's the qualifications? And that means a lot of people can get grants. These are United States citizens, because some of these grants are only for United States citizens. There's grants for if you're immigrant. There's grants for if you're minority, if you're a woman. They have all different types, but nobody comes out here and tells you. But in letsgohelp.com, you can go over there and see. Sign up, $20 a month, and you can find there's people actively going to get grants, finding grants, helping out with, I need help with this. Then people will be in the group talking. This is what you can do in your state, your city. That's how it works. Is it worth $20 a month? Yes. But otherwise, you can go findhelp.org and call up every nonprofit and see if it meets your goals and you meet their goals. Because sometimes they have their own thing. They'll say, well, if you do X, then we can't do it. If you do Y, we can do it. Right? So there's all different, and there could be 20 to 30 to 40 to 100 different places that you can just sit on the phone and call. I need help with this. I need help with this. Well, I'm sorry. You have a job right now? Yeah, I'm sorry. It doesn't qualify for you. Next place will be like, yeah, we can help you at zero. We can make an appointment next week. Can you come down and we can see if we can help you out? And if we help you, it's no cost. It all depends. There's so many different ways it goes because these guys are getting federal and state monies to do this. So that's why they're helping. So I think it's Let's Go Help. I always wanted to say it's Let's Go Helps, but let me go look. Let's Go Help. I don't understand why I never made it Let's Go Helps. Yeah, it's Let's Go Help. Just what I put in the chat room for everybody on CEO Brand SOS, Tim Smith. I see you, period S Torres, Shiverman. I see you guys still in the house. Go to Let's Go Help findhelp.com if you want grants and other free services. And some of the services you do have to pay. But Let's Go Help, you go over there for $20 a month, or you go to findhelp.org. That's where you go. Findhelp.org. Unbelievable. All this time, nobody has ever said go to findhelp.org. All right, findhelp.org. Make sure you smash the like button, ladies and gentlemen, because the YouTube guys need to know that we're in the house. We're helping people out here. All right. Now, it's going to be a good night's sleep on the East Coast. It's almost showtime for the election. Who's going to win it? Trump in one corner, Kamala Harris in another corner. Who's going to take this one down, ladies and gentlemen? We have the guy that says he wants retribution on one side. We got the mixed girl on the other side saying we want to work together with everybody. Which way is it going to work? What way is the country going to go? The rest of the world is watching. And most of the world is hoping you vote for one particular candidate. And there's only a few people in the world. Not a few. There's a lot of people around the world, but there are a few dictators around the world that wants a certain person to win. Because if the United States is friends with those guys, then that's a problem. And then if we stay status quo, then that's a problem for all of them 5 guys. 5 guys. We're talking about like 6 guys. That's a problem in the world that basically holds down their citizens. The guys in Venezuela, Moda, in India, China, North Korea, Russia. Who wants to be friends with those guys? My God, seriously. Netanyahu, come on now. War criminals. Except so far, Xi's not a war criminal yet. He hasn't tried to take Taiwan yet and kill people. He hasn't done that yet. So Xi's still, he's one of them guys that is very smart. He plays the sable rattler, right? Because China, that's what they used to be. They're very good at it, just like Russia. And he's actually over there doing a capitalist system under a communist system. It's funny as hell to watch. He's over there making dollars for the country until they started borrowing like the United States. Now they're effed up kind of. But the fact of the matter is they're using like a socialist, communist, capitalist system to wreak havoc around the world. What they're doing over in Africa is crazy. They're helping, spending, and posting up so they can control. It's crazy. The United States is just sitting idly by, twiddling their thumbs. The one continent on the planet that has every precious item that you can imagine. Gold, diamonds, pearls, it don't matter. I mean, Jesus Christ. And you're just ceding it to the Chinese. You need to be making friends with the African nations, my man. They got oil. They got golds. They got silver. They got platinum. They got palladium. They got fruits and vegetables. They got a lot of stuff on Africa soil. And the United States has let freaking 100 years go by without handling and treating them like a stepchild, like the worst place on the planet. And it's a shame. But China says, ooh, you guys leaving it free for me? I'll come over and set up shop. No problem. I got the people to do it. I got the muscle after I got the people there to control. But I'm just saying, all you had to do was be friends and partners. We make a $20 billion. What's wrong with them making $20 billion? You don't want to do that? Come on now. I'm extracting all that oil and stuff, and you don't want to give these guys equal compensation. You just want to keep giving them like a pennies on the dollar. Come on. Should have never happened. Now you're going to have to deal with China eventually. All right. That's my socio-economic talk for the night. It's rare because we don't usually talk about election stuff, but you have to understand there's consequences by who you're voting for. You might like a guy that plays tough guy. You might like the mixed girl who's seemingly was a prosecutor in the AG. But each of them have faults. But the bottom line from an investor standpoint, which one's going to minimize L's? That's the real question, and costs citizens in the US more money based on their policy. Tariffs is a no-go. That's more money for citizens. So that's, one thing. But if you say, okay, I can live with the tariffs, then you're like, well, you don't know what the tariffs are, but okay. So now you go, okay, you're going to have to pay more taxes. Well, you were going to have to pay more taxes anyhow. The 2017 tax break, tax cut, Jobs Act, and all that, 2025 and 2027, the taxes increased. That's how they were going to pay back part of that tax cut and tax break. So, and Congress is the only one that can change it. So if a certain party controls the House that put it into place, they ain't going to revoke it, right? You're going to pay more money. You're going to pay the millionaires taxes. Come on now. So if you're trying to avoid that, then the other party says, we're not going to avoid that. We're going to flip the script. We're going to make sure that people that make 400,000 or less is going to pay less taxes. The people who pay more than 400, who make more than 400,000, we're going to make them pay more taxes. Which one sounds reasonable? Okay, take your pick. I know which side of the fence I like. I like tax break for the guys that make less than 400,000, because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, that's like 99% of the population. That's why it's funny. So all them dudes who have $100 billion, $200 billion, $300 billion, your tax holidays are over. I don't see a problem with this. How did you get the money? How does somebody make money, a lot of money? You want to know something? If somebody has a single member LLC, you have a cap. You might be able to make $1 million. You might be able to make 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. But in order to make where you have billions, you have to have companies. You have to have employees who sweat for 8 to 9 hours a day, right? They are taken away from their families 5 days a week, sometimes 6 if you have mandatory overtimes, right? They're sacrificing their life. Meanwhile, you're the CEO and you can run around like a cheerleader on stage. Okay, okay, I won't get into it. I just found that funny as hell. But anyhow, you have this situation going on where you have billions of dollars, but in order to get the billion, you have to have people buying your product. You have to have people working for you, and it ain't just 5 or 10 people. You have to have thousands. And then that's how you become a billionaire and hundreds of millions and all that type. But the point is, you're making all this money, but in the meantime, your employees are left holding the bags. You're not giving them any increase in pay. You're trying to keep the pay down, like you're working against them, because employment is the most expense for the business. So it's understandable, the dichotomy of the two. If you're in business and you make $100 million, and then you find out you gave employment of 40 million, and you're like, damn. And then you find out over the course, your company made like 20 million. You're looking at your thing like, man, if we laid off about 300 people, we could keep like $20 million. That would be profit. And then we can pay ourselves that 2 million, 10 million, $5 million bonuses. That's how they think. So therefore, they have every incentive to keep your wage low. And of course, since all the rich guys own the companies, most of the time, they don't really care. They're going, okay, man, we pay the guy like $75,000 a year, $50,000 a year. That's good. They should be able to live all right. But meanwhile, they don't know what it's living like when all they have is $5,000 or less per month and trying to have a house, 2 kids, and a car. They don't know. They don't have any idea. They don't even go shopping, so they don't even know how much groceries cost. So therefore, they don't have any empathy because they don't associate with that most of the time, right? So you can understand this. That's why things are skewed, because they don't they're not shopping hardly. They're never going to the grocery store. They're not going to go buy a car. They get chauffeured around most of the time. They don't even drive. So they don't have anything like sitting in traffic, because when they're sitting in traffic, they're in the back seat doing whatever they want to do. They're not even looking up. And as you guys know, you be on your computer, be on your laptop, an hour goes by, 2 hours go by, just like that. So they don't have any idea that a person that gets off work might have to sit in traffic for an hour, hour and a half. And then when they get home, it's 6:30, and they only have 3 hours before they might go to bed for the next day, and do that 5 times a week. And then you tell them they have overtime on Saturday. Mandatory. They don't. That's why it's a dichotomy of big corporations and working for them. So that's what you guys have to understand. So I like helping the small people. That's why I started the channel. Make sure you smash the like button on the way out. We're about to wrap this up. I didn't even throw down any SSN lifestyle videos today. Let me do, let's see. No, I won't do land auction. What is this one? Oh, this one's a minute. Okay, Napa Valley. Oh, yeah, I'm going to get a red flag, but it's all
Come on, come on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for being here. I'm about to wrap this up. So once again, if you have any questions, you guys know I love you. You can always hit me up at support@stopstrugglingnow.com or join our chat on WhatsApp. Where do you get that link? Well, if you paid attention this long, I know a lot of people have left already, but it's okay. Here's the WhatsApp link. I have a lot of scammers who always try to get in whenever I leave the link out here, but I'll leave a link in the chat room. So if you'd like to come and join, I'm gonna have to approve you. So send me an email probably at support@stopstrugglingnow if I can't tell that I need to approve you. All right. So make sure you do that. And I'm going to leave it elsewhere as well in other platforms so they receive it. And come join us, SSN Nation and Lifestyle. And once again, go to SSN Lifestyle or Stop Struggling Now and come join us in the Dominican Republic next month. We do real estate investments, business. It's a discussion, really. But you get to meet lawyers. You get to meet developers. You get to meet bankers. And the lawyers have accountants. So that way you can understand business, startup. If you want to start a business, you'll understand how much it costs and what to do. If you want to do banking, then we can get you a banking account by getting a pre-approval. So when you arrive, one of the days that you're there, you can go down to the bank and put in your $500 USD for a USD account. And if you want a Dominican account, peso account, then you put in like $100 just to open the account. That'll already be set up for you. If you don't do that, if you go there and try and open up a bank account, then it's going to be delayed. You're going to, first of all, take 5 hours. Well, it took me like 4 hours. And then even after 4 hours, you don't have a card, you don't have nothing. And then I didn't get my debit card for like a month later, which didn't really matter. But all I'm saying is when you're pre-approved, you're already set up. It's like you just go in, take an hour to sign stuff because they need a wet signature there. And then you'll get your debit card. So you'll be there an hour, hour and a half. Otherwise, you're 5 hours, 4 hours, wait. Your debit card comes later, or maybe you can still get it at that point, but you got to go sign some more papers. It's crazy. So anyhow, just letting you know, we make it easy because if you're going to do business over there, whether it's short-term rentals, real estate, or business, or anything else, you want to have a bank account there. So you'll have peso and dollars. That gives you flexibility because if you ever get loans, they have loans in pesos or dollars. Just saying. And that way you can also pay in pesos or dollars. Depends on what it's. Scotia Bank uses USD when you pay. And Banco del Oro uses the peso account when you buy stuff. So theirs is a little bit different. But nonetheless, once you know what you're dealing with, and now people can pay you over there. Because over there, if you have a bank account, unlike in America, if I have your bank account number, you just say, I want to send you $50. I just log into the app. I send you $50. It's there in like 1 minute. They don't do Zelle. They just allow you to send money and they take like a percentage. They'll take like, I don't know, 3 pesos, 2 pesos for the transaction. Then they'll have a fee, tax fee. You pay a tax for whatever you sent. They tax you on the send. Half, I guess, probably goes to me. But anyhow, that's how it works. And I like the freedom. I got to admit, man, banking around the world is totally different than in the US. So no Zelle, nobody's blocking saying, or Venmo or PayPal saying, hey, you know what? We need to review this. We're going to put it on hold because you've never done it before. No, none of that. If I got your bank account, I just open my bank account. I can send you money. No restrictions. Got to love it, right? I love it. And so people can pay you as well. So now you do business, they can actually send money to you that way, as long as they have a bank account. How cool is that? Right? Or unlike the United States, they can walk in, give your bank account, and put the pesos in your account like we used to be able to do like 40 years ago in America. No restrictions. The person doesn't have a bank account there. None of that. All you need is an ID. They record your ID with your cedula, your passport number, driver's license number. That's it. Here, I'm putting in $1,000 in this account. Okay, you need to fill out this paperwork. Okay. It's done. None of this BS that they do in America. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't bank here. Like, who cares? What are you talking about? So that's what you got to love. If you pay with money orders, well, yeah, I guess money orders, cashier's checks, there's a delay. Just so you know. Because since they're in the old banking system, they have to make sure that it actually clears. You know, like US has a different banking system. It's like ACH. They have it, but they like to make sure it physically, they physically do it. All right. Like it's 1970. It's crazy. But anyhow, it's a good thing and bad thing. But all I'm saying is if you deal with cash, you have money in the bank, you can just transfer money to anybody that has a bank account. There's no problems. So that's what's so sweet about it. Don't have to go to Western Union. Don't have to go through PayPal, Venmo. What's the other card? So what's that card? I can't even remember the cards. Cash App. None of that. Don't have to get approval. Well, you got to put in. Well, you're already a bank. You're already bank with them, so they already have your ID. So that's why you don't need approval. But you do need the other person's name, cedula, before you can send it to them. So that's what makes it kind of cool. So there is a trackable way, but it's just once you have that, you just send the money and it's done. Hey, man, you send it, pick up the phone, call. Hey, I just sent it to you. Do you see it? Yes, I see it. It's that fast. Unlike this BS Zelle does and all this other crazy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you smash the button on the outside of this as we're leaving this chat room. Thank you so much for being in here tonight. I felt we had a productive conversation, even though I was doing most of it about this election situation. It's not going to matter for us as investors because we adjust. The STR business taxes in Dominican Republic and around the world are coming into effect. No country is going to want to miss out on free money, right? That's why they're allowing these pre-construction properties to occur, because that's going to increase the taxes, which are going to increase their bottom line for infrastructure and other projects that they're going to have in the future. Now, when's going to be a good time to sell these properties? That's the thing you need to know, because holding on to it longer and longer means it's going to cost you more and more. So maybe it's not going to end up being such a great deal, but who knows? Or it can be the best thing ever, where you bought something for $150,000 to $200,000, and you're able down the line 5 years later, you're able to charge $350 per night, and then you do 100 to 150 nights a year, and the next thing you know, you're making $35,000 a year on $150,000 to $200,000 price. You can live with 10% to 15% return on your money all year, every year. That's why you go see our dividend stocks. We buy assets. ARR, AGNC, ORC, IEP as in Paul, JEPI, JEPQ. I don't even know why I did this. You know why I say that? Because I keep forgetting. We wrote this down one night. Let me see if here's the list. Here's the list. Let's see what we got. One side of the fence, on the right-hand side, those are real estate investment trusts. 11% or more. The next column that begins with ET, 7.7. Right? And then JEPI and JEPQ, that's about 9%. MFA, I wrote it down, 11%. VTI, VOO, SPDR, VGT, SMH, those are ETFs. All right? And year over year, the Vs, the VTI, VOO, VOOG, VGT, they got over 33% improvement in the ETF price and kicked off a few dividends. So if that keeps continuing, which it probably will, no matter who's going to be president, you might have another run up, because NVIDIA is going to be moved to the Dow Jones Index November 8th. That's why the stock price will probably increase at the end of this week. And there could be a situation where, if I will say this, if Trump wins, then the stock market will be on fire, even more on fire, because of tax cuts, tax breaks, and they're able to borrow money at a cheaper rate, because he's going to force the Federal Reserve and, come on, I'll fire you if you don't get it down to 2.5 5% interest rate like yesterday, right? So the stock market will be on steroids. The housing market would be on steroids. And people will be making a lot of flip money, meaning I can buy something today and the price goes up in 6 months or less, $50,000 to $100,000. So that would happen, but it'll put it out of reach of ordinary citizens. So you got to keep in mind there's a caveat for all that if he wins. If Kamala wins, then there's a different tact. You'll still have the appreciation, but you're not going to have this rocket fuel added to the fire with tax cut, tax breaks, and some other factors. So, but it's still going to go the same way, just not as fast. That's all I can say. That's my assessment. We'll see how it all turns out. Hopefully, in fact, I might run a live stream tomorrow night since it's election night and see what everybody's thinking. That'll be a wide open one. That one that I run tomorrow night, that'll be, we can talk everything. In fact, I might even put a link in the chat room so then people can come up live if they want to. And you don't have to show your face. You can do things like this. You can turn your camera off and then just have that, right? It won't show SSN Nation. It'll just show a random image. But the fact of the matter is you can do it like this. And if you don't want to show your face and talk about whatever you want to talk about regarding the election, who you voted for, if you want to, or you don't have to say who you voted for. It's your prerogative, however you want to do it. Maybe we should do that after we find out who wins, because a lot of people will be woofing, and some people will say, well, it still ain't over yet, because they're probably going to end up where there's going to be, the way it's set up, there's going to be some states that don't count all the ballots by November 5th. It would have to be an overwhelmingly on one side of the fence that's going to be projected to win. Like, I'm not going to use any states, but you know, the red states and the blue states, it's usually 60-25, 60-30. So as long as you know 60 or 70% of the ballots have been cast and you could count that many, now you know the other side can't catch up because there's not enough available votes left. So you can call the race, but you can't do that everywhere, because some races are going to be the difference of 49% to 49.9%. So now you can't call it early. So now you're actually going to have to count all of the freaking votes because you're less than 1% or 1.5% apart. So you're talking about a difference of a couple of 100,000 votes. So it can change at a dime, where you start going, well, a city that has 2.5 million people or 5 million people or 9 million people, all of a sudden you start counting the mail-in ballots, and there was 4 million mail-in ballots. And all of a sudden things start changing up because X amount of people sent in more mail-in ballots, and people call that dumping, but that's not what really happened. It's just that they counted mail-in ballots after same-day ballots most of the time. Not all states are like that. There's other states that count mail-in ballot and they count voting, like Georgia. Georgia does. They start counting mail-in ballots tomorrow because there's like 4 million. You can't count 4 million mail-in ballots in one day. So clearly, so now if it's a close race, you know how many people voted tomorrow. Now all of a sudden you got to count 4 million ballots in 48 hours. How many people do you need? You're going to need a lot of people, but if you don't have hundreds of people, how long is it going to take to count 4 million mail-in ballots, right? So these are the type of things you have to think about, right? I don't think it's 4 million because they had early voting with that count. It's probably 2 million or something like that. But all I'm saying is this is what's going to happen tomorrow night. So I'll have a live stream. So hopefully you guys will join me. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, no, I might not, because I'm supposed to be over at my dad's. And I guess we'll probably watch the results of what's going to be happening. So yeah, I won't be doing a live stream tomorrow. Maybe afternoon we'll do some prediction polls or something on our side. Do something. We got to do something, right? Got to be proactive. Whether you're voting for Trump, Kamala Harris, or even third party, I don't really care. It's up to you. But if you vote third party, you know it's not going to count for anything. I mean, you can want to vote for a libertarian for whatever they believe, but they don't even have senators. So that, I mean, what can you do? You're not going to have a senator that represents you. So now you're going to have to figure out of these two candidates. That's what I don't understand. If you're one of the third parties, how do you pick a third party? Because that vote takes away from the top two votes. Nothing wrong with it, but from a statistical situation, you can't win. So why are you just voting for a person that can't win and wanting that? But now you have to compromise and figure out, okay, I can't get that, but what person allows me to get closer to what I want? That's the way I think I would think if I'm a third party, but I don't really know what third party people think when they vote for a third party. But that's what I'm thinking about as an alternative. I'd be like, okay, if I voted for an alternative, but they can't win, so why am I voting for the alternative? I have to vote for one or two of these guys, and I can't sit home silent. So one of these people are going to win. Which one can I live with? Kind of. Which one actually has more policies that I like than against? That's literally how I do it pretty much. I'm like, I mean, so it doesn't really matter. I go by the person that gives me the most, that I think is talking right for what is needed the way I see it, for me and my family and our country. Other people vote based on my family voted this way all my life, so this is what we're voting. I'm like, okay, but what if that person's not actually trying to help you that you're voting for? And they only have one thing you like versus the other person has 6 or 7 things that you might like, but you're going to vote against your party. For your party that only has one thing you like. That doesn't make much sense. And quite frankly, that's why we have a lot of states in the United States that are poverty levels. And they're in the top 10 of the worst education, worst health, and all things like that, because they just keep voting one way. So they think the opposite. They're like, the other person's the enemy. And then it's like, what do you mean? Somebody's trying to help you. They're not trying to keep you down. But they don't look at it that way. They're going, no, the other guy's trying to keep me down. It's like both sides go, they're trying to keep me down. But in reality, you have to go by who's voting for what. You actually look up the voting records. If you're interested in the border and migrants, right? Then I go and say, okay, let's go see who was voting to actually try to help with more border patrol agents or equipment, or trying to get the asylum situation, more people to handle that. The funding has to come from the House. Right. So I want to go look to the House record, and then I look up and see, wait a minute, what party voted for and what party voted against. So I'm like, wait, hold on. I thought you guys were for border stuff. Why do you vote no? Now I'm like scratching my head like, but you're out here on TV saying a border, but you vote against it. Then you come up with the story like, oh, well, there's other stuff in the bill, like trying to help our allies. I'm like, and what's the problem? You're going to send them more money anyhow, like you always do. So whether you send it now or send it later, who cares? I mean, that doesn't make sense to me. But now you're going to tell me about the border when you had a chance to vote yes? I'm like, what kind of nonsense is this? I'm like, hold up a second, man. Who you work for? I'm like, who you working for right now? But that's why the border's never been settled over 50 years. Because one party acts like they want to figure out the border. Another party goes, this is what I want to do. But the other party goes, that's not how we see it. So we're not voting for your thing. And then when the other party says, okay, we'll compromise, let's get this done, then all of a sudden they go, well, we agreed to it, but now we're not going to do it. We're going to vote against our own bill that we did. That's stupid. And then people believe what these people say. It was the other people's fault. And then I go look and like, no, you voted against this. Why is it their fault? Come on now, you're playing people out here. So this is the way I look at things. I just go with the facts. I don't go by what somebody said. I go look and see how you voted. So when you say you care about children, and then when there's a bill that comes up to protect children, you vote no, or you don't show up and vote, I'm like, hold up, man. What do you mean? How does that even make sense? You're telling me on the national stage you care about people's kids, but then you vote no when it's something to help the kids? I'm like, this is crazy to me. And you can see which parties are trying to vote things to help people and which aren't by what they vote, not what they say on the news channels, on their little clips. Don't go by that. You go look and see what these senators and congressmen are voting for and against. So when they come out to your district or your area and you see them on TV and they start going, well, we care about this. And then in your head, you're just like, dude, you voted against this. What do you mean you care about this? So now you understand the rage from one side when they're going, this dudes are lying. And then you have people believing what they're lying about. And so then they say, no, you're lying to me because they said so. And I go, no, go look at the record. Look what they voted for. And then people go, I don't have to. And that's when I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. So that's what we have a problem with in America, the dumbing down of America by not being able to actually get information. So with all that said, make sure you stay safe out here because as you know, there's going to be a lot of people under stress and duress over the next 24 to 96 hours as this election draws to a close. And with all that said, I love you guys. As I mentioned before, I thank you so much for your support over all these years. But be safe and keep your head up. Keep moving. And I'm out.